to live there doing that every day is like my version of like a Valhalla kind of thing, of just to fight and hunt all day. And I can see why that was a choice of an afterlife. I met someone from the DRC and he said, "You're the most famous white man in Africa."
Are you really?
And he said, "You are like a hero. You know, people who can make good life choices tend to make bad warriors."
Some of the best warriors are completely dysfunctional in society.
Turns out the room's the Oval Office.
Turns out the room is the actual Oval Office.
and yours truly here doesn't know it's the Oval Office.
You didn't know it was the Oval Office?
The first thing President Trump says to me is, "Thank you for saving American lives."
Obi-Wan, Nairobi. I am honored to have you here, brother. I appreciate you taking the time, brother. I'm just kidding, by the way. This is actually Christian Craighead. I'm sure many of you have probably seen him around the interwebs and read articles probably about him. Sir, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come here and sit down with me and chat, because I've been looking forward to sitting down and talking with you about some of your adventures for a little while, because you've had a very unique, interesting life, and you've had a lot of experiences that a lot of people read about, and they're like, "Man, is this dude a real person?" Like this, like the stuff that this guy has done is like, you know, tales that people are going to tell around the campfire for years and years to come. You know what I mean? So it's a real honor to be able to sit down with you and talk to you, chat with you about stuff. My life and my career, it feels like, is very like you would never. Most people would never want to compare their lives with a guy who's done the things that you've done, because it's like it would seem kind of like minuscule in nature in comparison, because you've done so much like unbelievable stuff and showed like, you know, all these acts of heroism, like bravery, courage, and not only that, but just like the way that you live your life and a lot of the things that you talk about and a lot of the podcasts that you've done and a lot of the interviews that you've done and just your interactions is like being a good mentor for a lot of young men that may not have mentors. You know, I think that's a huge thing that I think you've done a really good job of doing, is kind of like setting an example for like how to be a good, strong man, and an honorable man. And that's huge, especially in this day and age where there's so much noise and slop, and it's hard to kind of like find somebody who's a good mentor you can look up to and like be like, how should I live my life as a young man? You know, that's like really important. You know?
Well, thanks for inviting me here, and I'm glad you said that, and it means a lot to me. I mean, we're going to go back and forward for different times, but one thing why I'm pleased to hear that was, you know, the event what happened that most people know about in 2019. That put me in a place where I wasn't heading for, and what I mean by that is into the public domain, because make no like mistake, if that hadn't have happened, people would not know who I am. I wouldn't have came out and said, I wouldn't have tried to make a career of being ex-SAS and I did this and I'm a badass and I did that. I would not have done that. I would have retired whenever I retired, and I would have went down the normal path of contracting or doing things like that. And I've always been quite quiet about what I've done while I was serving things, but this event in 2009 pushed me into a place where I wasn't purposely heading for.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, and then and I had thought I better get an Instagram account to see how Instagram works. And I was looking, and I went, what do I say? I've never had any social media before. This is in 2020. And I'm thinking, what's a good model? The things I was always fascinated about when I was young was nuclear weapons, submarines.
Nuclear weapons?
Yeah, nuclear weapons, submarines, weapons in general, and warfare and military units. Absolutely obsessed about it. So my start point was, if I was talking to my 15-year-old self, what would I want to hear? So I'm trying to be the person that my 15-year-old self needed. So not only in nerdy stuff about guns and violence, it's also about moving forward, how to be a better version of me. So hopefully it comes across as that, and that's basically who I'm messaging, my 15-year-old self.
Yeah.
So you saying the effect that I'm having, that means I'm doing a reasonable job of it.
I think so. That's one of the tough things I found about all this stuff, is that there's a plethora of people out there that are putting on this persona or representing themselves in a certain way And a lot of young people who spend a lot of time on the social media apps and they're looking on their phones a lot of times, doom scrolling stuff. A lot of people come up, maybe they don't have their father in their life, maybe they don't have their mother in their life, maybe they grew up in their grandparents' household and they didn't have any mentorship or like any good examples of leadership in their life. Maybe they're coming from like a low income area, and it's rare to find people through all the noise and all the crap, the slop that's getting put out there. It's rare to come into contact with people who are, number one, genuine. Like the person that they portray themselves as on the internet is exactly who they are in real life as well. And it's also rare to find somebody that's like, the way that I kind of like think about who is a good mentor in my mind, or who would be a good example of like how to be a leader, or somebody that I think is leading from the front, doing a good job, is if I wasn't around and I had a son, who would I want him to aspire to be like?
Right.
That's what I think about. And that's like usually a really telltale sign for me. If I look at a person and I see what a guy's doing, or a gal or whatever, I'm like, if I wasn't around and I had kids, who would I want them to aspire to be like? Because really one of the things I found in my brief time on this planet is like the best leaders I've met were the people that you want to emulate. You want to be like that person. You want to take on the character traits that they have because they have something you want. And sometimes it's hard to tell what that something is. Sometimes it's like they're just carrying themselves in a certain way. They conduct themselves in a certain way in person with people. They communicate with others in a specific way that you're like, wow, there's something about this person that it's very heavy. And that doesn't just come naturally. That takes years of development and years of influence from other outside sources to make that person into who they were. You know, it's rare these days that you find good examples of leadership and mentorship on the internet specifically, because there's so much crap out there. And there's a lot of people that are just putting stuff out that are just trying to get clicks. They're just trying to get engagement. They don't really think about how they're influencing people. They don't really think what type of an impact they're having on younger minds that are fairly impressionable when their brains are still developing and stuff like that. I think what you're doing I think you're doing it the right way. And I think that, encouraging young men specifically, which is one of the things I've seen you do, is encouraging young men to take responsibility and step up to the plate when called upon, because historically that's the way that it's gone for all history, all human history. Like, you have, a few men that were willing to stand up and do the right thing and fight for the right thing and find a cause that's worth fighting for, which is also hard to do in this day and age because there's so much information that it's very distracting. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what direction you should take your life, Yeah. And so having a little bit of direction from a guide, you could say, like a mentor, you could look at a mentor almost like a guide to life. I think it's tough. It's tough to sift through that stuff to find the right guide.
Well, society in general has made it much harder.
Yeah,
they're really filtering down like manhood, masculinity, what it means to be a hero, to step up, and it's been being chipped away. In my opinion, I think a big step change was in the early 2000s, in the early noughties. That's when it started chipping away, because I mean, what used to be a big influence, or like TV and movies. And we'll see how badly that's going. And like I say, it's just marginal gains of just making people weaker and society weaker. Because what was a good education for me? Like hell, I grew up on action movies. So, like, and if you look at the action movie, like like Mel Gibson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone,
Bruce Willis. I don't know. I'm a diehard fan, so it's like,
I mean, I'm a Hans Gruber fan.
Okay, fair.
Hans Gruber, role models like Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
But don't know, seriously, all these movies, and again, other people, oh yeah, him. But what was the message? It was like, reluctant otherwise, you have this badass dude, white dude, and everything goes bad, he saves the day. People love that. People love that model, and did. I mean, the box office will show you that. And then we have this gradual sort of reset, and they try to make the same movies today with different messaging. It doesn't land. And going back to what you said about what I say sounds genuine. There's a reason for that. Is most of what I say is like from the heart.
Yeah.
And I should say all of it. And that's why it lands well. Where you could hear someone hearing what I said and said, "Oh, people loved what Christian Craighead said, so I'm going to say the same thing." But it's not genuine. So no matter how well they deliver it, it doesn't land well.
Yeah.
It's like lying about an incident. When I talk about things I've been involved with, it flows naturally because I've been saying it since the incident, since X incident or whatever, and I don't have to think about what I was saying. Yeah, I might get slight distances or things wrong if I'm talking details, but it flows because I don't have to think about what I said in the past. Where you have these people who aren't genuine, it doesn't land well because whether you can see it or not, they're thinking about what they want to say rather than what flows out naturally.
It's too much work for me to like come up with something if I'm not just reciting something from memory. You know what I mean? Like if I'm reciting something from memory, it's like, well, this is what happened. These are the facts about whatever given situation I've experienced or whatever. And like you said, you don't have to like remember what you said before to make sure it matches up or lines up. It's just, I'm saying the same thing. And like you said, maybe you get certain like minute details like distances and things like that or times or whatever. That's normal because you misremember things like as time passes and, you know, but yeah, I think that helps speaking from the heart.
And I hope I don't trip myself up later and go, because I don't watch any of my any interviews or podcasts that I do. I never watch any of them.
I don't either.
And
I don't like watching
so maybe
myself
I should
talk.
because I would say, I need to remember that I said that.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But because then people say, well, he has contradicted himself. But I don't know. I'm sure I won't. But anyway, back to Hollywood and the movie, and then we chipped away at it. And now it just, as Hollywood is in absolute dire straits right now because people, no matter what messaging you put out, it's not landing well.
Yeah.
It's like people want to be entertained instead of being lectured or having some sort of ideology like forced on them. And Star Wars is a good example. But
yeah. Let me ask you this: did you ever see that movie Warfare about the Navy SEALs in Ramadi?
No, I haven't seen it.
I would encourage you to, if you've got some downtime at some point, watch the movie Warfare. It was produced and directed by a Navy SEAL. I think the Navy SEAL that was directing it or in charge of that was a guy that did fight in Ramadi. Right. And so they did a very, very good job of telling the story that happened. There's none of that like pushing a narrative, none of that stuff. It's just like, here's what happens. This is the gritty nature of this event. And a bunch of young guys, young SEALs. I mean, they're all actors, obviously, in the movie, but like, you know, portraying SEALs in Ramadi. And I can't remember what year the movie was supposed to be like set in, but I think it's like 2006, 2007. Right. That's like when Ramadi was really bad, was 2006. But very good film. I actually had an opportunity to sit down with one of the actors from the film in LA a couple weeks back. By the time this comes out, it'll have been a while, but they even like the one guy I talked to is like, you know, we felt a significant obligation to be a conduit to tell their stories in the way that they would have wanted the story to be told. And they worked with guys that were in that specific event, that time, to make sure that they were being as close to accurate as possible for like the situation. And it was just very well done. It's completely different from what your typical Hollywood film is. And I mean, like we used to have really good, you know, movies like war movies. I don't know how big you are on like war movies or war series. I mean, I've been like one of the things I kind of grew up on was like I was a kid. I watched that movie Saving Private Ryan, very popular Spielberg film. Watched the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers, very very well done with Steven Spielberg. Tom Hanks helped direct it and produce it. And then there was another miniseries, HBO miniseries called The Pacific, which was based on the island hopping campaign in World War II that the Marines were conducting. It kind of, the focus was mostly on the Marines in the Pacific, and they did a very good job of storytelling with that and portraying things as they were, not as somebody would want them to appear to be. You know what I mean? And so they get it right occasionally. I think society as a whole is getting to a point where they've become fatigued with what you're talking about. Yeah. And I think we're starting to see a change to get back to, I want a good story. I don't want you to tell me how to feel about it.
What was interesting, what I've noticed is because I've swallowed the red pill, is
swallowed the red pill.
Is now I can't unsee.
Yeah.
Is because I didn't watch much TV or some movies and stuff, especially of a block in the 2000s. So I've been watching older TV shows.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is there's little things in there where you go, all right, if I'd watched this when it said show came out in 2005, I would not have noticed this. But it's it's the first steps of where we are today.
Okay.
But now I'm watching it back and going, all right, I can see the messaging here. It's very subtle and the very start of it. So it's gone back longer than we think. They've just been gradually chipping away at it.
Yeah. Well, that's how you keep gaining inches until eventually you add up to a mile.
Yeah.
It's how a lot of these things happen because people are pretty resistant to significant change.
Yeah.
But usually people are willing to just like let things slide if it's just this very slight change.
And we see this now with even the movie reviews and stuff that you see. I watch a lot of these on YouTube. Critical Drinker.
Oh yeah, Critical Drinker. Yeah,
I'm big fans of those two.
Yeah, he's great.
But you see, the bar's getting lower. So it's like this is not a terrible. Like it's the best movie of the year. But it's still not a great movie.
Yeah.
And this is where the bar's getting lower and lower. And now we just we shrug our shoulders and go, yeah, it's that was good.
Yeah.
Because we're used to so much being churned out by Hollywood.
Yeah.
That like I said, the bar's just got much lower to what people, and like I say, we'll let a lot of things slide just because that's just how it is today.
Yeah, that happens for sure. People get comfortable with like certain things. They get used to things.
Like the Alien franchise. So the only real Alien movies I think that count are Alien and Aliens. After that, and then the newer stuff is just completely just irrelevant.
Yeah.
But Alien, Sigourney Weaver plays Ellen Ripley. Great movie.
Yeah.
Aliens probably, I think, my favorite movie of all time.
No kidding.
And I've got these questions like if you're isolated in whether it be a prison cell or on a rocket ship or whatever, and you only had you could watch one movie for the rest of your life. You can only take one movie. I've thought about it more than I should have, but that I would probably take Aliens.
Really?
I think that's the best movie. I think, is it 1979 the first Aliens?
I think so, yeah, the 70s.
And then 1984, I believe, for Aliens. Everyone accepted that, as I do today. Brilliant story, brilliant casting, all the right people doing the right jobs.
Yeah.
But what they've done now is, if let's say Alien hadn't come out and it's being released this year, 2026, and it comes out and it's the same casting, the same storyline, the same, everything's the same, people would not watch it because they'd go, ugh, another female, like another woman who saves the day. Not interested. So instead of like making everyone more accepting of it and more open to thoughts, it's like, oh yeah, in the name of DEI, now everyone's just writing off, giving people a chance, just like DEI hires in work now. The problem being is when there's women out there who are extremely talented, who deserve that position. If they'd got that job 15 years ago, no one would question it.
Yeah.
Because clearly she's earned that place. Now that same woman who's extremely talented, who deserves it, she'll get that job, and she like I say, she deserves it. But now you're gonna have all these people questioning, oh, she's only got it because she's a woman.
Yeah.
And so in the name of DEI, they've just made it, I think, a lot worse.
Yeah, because I think
people
now
less accepting of everything.
Yeah, well, they planted these seeds in everyone's minds now that like this is why this is happening, because there were a lot of situations where that might have been the case. And so it's like the boy who cried wolf almost. Yeah. You know? It's
like that. So now they've messed it up for the people who are actually capable.
Yeah.
And it's like I always say with Hollywood, and we maybe followed a weird path here, but it's the same thing of now if a movie comes out and there's like some girl boss, people are just like, nope. Yeah. But it could have been a good story. It should have been a good story. And Star Wars, for all its fault, is Rogue One.
Rogue One was amazing. They crushed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
And that's how it's done. And it's not about when people say, oh, people might look at me and go, oh, he's a misogynist. He thinks that women shouldn't be like female leads or like strong characters. Absolutely wrong. I think it's just got to be the right person for the right job, whether that's a role in life or the casting in a movie.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's done properly, everyone loves it.
Yeah.
If you force it on people, or put it in because of, oh, well, we've got to have this person doing this. Like I said before, if it's genuine, it works. If it's not, it doesn't land well.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and Rogue One landed very well.
Yeah.
I watched that movie in Okinawa.
I put it up there, and I know this is this is, if people don't know, I am a bit of a nerd, but with the Star Wars franchise, if you like, it's a controversial thing. It might just be my favorite Star Wars movie.
Which one?
Rogue One? Yeah.
It might be one of my favorites too.
It's between that and Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, Empire's good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people don't like the prequels. I enjoyed the prequels.
I really like them.
I thought they were great.
really
I
liked
think
them.
Hayden Christensen did great. I think that Liam Neeson, amazing. I
Yeah.
think he's an amazing actor. I think that Ewan McGregor, amazing actor, which that's why I always make the jokes about, because you and Ewan McGregor kind of, like in my mind, I like visualize you as the same person, almost like this great father figure, role model, leader, mentor. And plus, by the time it's like, episode 2, he's got the beard, kind of similar to your beard and stuff. And plus, you both have the accent. So I'm like,
But
those guys are basically cousins.
The prequels, I really like them.
Yeah.
The whatever you call the follow-ups.
What is it? 6, 7, and 8, or 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
The latest ones.
So I don't fall asleep in movies. I know that's a female trait. It's not, I don't possess that.
I hear a lot of old guys falling asleep in the movies, but maybe it's because their testosterone's not high enough anymore.
But I don't fall asleep in movies. I don't even know what they're called, Rise of Skywalker or whatever.
Yeah.
But the last 2, I tried to watch them, and I've fallen asleep every single time.
Oh man.
And I don't know if it's just like, maybe it's conditioning in my mind saying you can't see this. Maybe I didn't fall asleep. Maybe I just passed out. Like, oh, this is like, it's too much. This is too much. It's like it's heresy.
That's funny.
They just destroyed the Star Wars, and they made it to like I said, I'm a bit of a nerd, and everyone used to say, oh yeah, I like Star Wars. Now those movies and then the TV things afterwards, the TV shows made it like we don't talk about Star Wars because you've made it so bad that I'm ashamed to said Once Upon a Time in a Galaxy Far, Far Away. I liked it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the series Andor though?
Yeah, I quite like that.
Andor is
I really like the
amazing.
episode on that about do you know when he was in the corrective institution and they're making the parts for the military complex?
Yeah.
I found that fascinating. Just the whole system of how they had the prison system working and stuff.
Do you know what's the name of the Skarsgård?
Yes.
Is it Bill Skarsgård or I can't remember. It's the father.
Yes.
He was on like that walkway and talking about like when the guy's like asking him what he sacrificed, and he's like, man, that is the most powerful scene I think in that entire series is when he's like he's explaining to him what he sacrificed. He's like, I've sacrificed everything to make sure that this happened. I mean, it was so powerful. The Skarsgård family in general just absolutely crush every role that they do, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But I really liked that series because it was like almost like it almost kind of reminded me of like a James Bond film or a James Bond series if it was taking place in the Star Wars universe almost, because there's a lot of like normal people, no powers. They don't have any abilities. Like they're just like trying to figure out how to, overthrow this oppressive regime essentially and build a rebellion.
There was it? I can't remember. I don't think it was Andor. They're all molded into one, and I eventually just gave up on them. Yeah, but they touched on it. It was just a tiny little point on one of the TV shows, and I think it must have been the one with Gina in it. Was that The Mandalorian?
Yeah, Mandalorian.
The first one.
Oh, with Gina Carano.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, brilliant.
She's amazing.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I've got a funny story about that. I quite like going into when I was living in Hereford. This is years back, and there was like this what I call nerd shop, and it's all Star Wars figures and all the comics and things, and I just go around looking. And I was talking to the owner of the shop about Star Wars and saying how it's gone down the pan and these things, and there's some of the old figures, and I said, oh man, just the packaging and everything just makes me time travel back to when I was younger and seeing these stuff. And he went, hey, do you want to see something like contraband? So it was like the movies when guys go, hey, do you want some of the good stuff? Yeah. And I was like, and he goes down into the cabinet and he brings out the action figure still in the box of Gina Carano. It's like, he goes, oh, I've got this and it's brilliant. And I went, oh man, that's That's
wow.
That's good. He goes, yeah, they made sure they completely like erased her from all of the
they tried
stuff.
to cancel her.
And I said,
hard.
how much is it? And he said how much. I said, right, I'll take it. So I bought it.
Yeah.
And I don't have any other Star Wars figures for the record.
But that one.
But I bought it, and then I sent her a message.
Oh, did you?
Because I was in communication with her, and I sent her a message, and I was like holding it and going, "Hey, I bought some contraband," and she goes, "I love the idea that I'm known as contraband." I said, "You know, the risks. I had to take a big risk to get this. It's like, show me. Here you go, mate. Put it
I had
in a
to
bag.
sneak this through customs."
So it's funny, and she's been really good. I've never met her personally, but she's been supportive as I have of her, and she's a great human being.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But what we were talking about? Oh yes. In that, they were talking about there was just one comment, and I don't know which exact show it was, but it was a good lesson of. Someone was talking about when the Empire fell, how then all law and order fell as well, and when and I think this would be an intelligent show to do that, and they would never do it, but they should show the after effect of when the Death Star is destroyed, of all the reprisals, all the collaborators being tortured to death and set on fire and their families murdered, just to show you, not that I want that to happen, it would be the evidence of this is what happens, this is the reality of regime change and things when you can imagine like the rebellion, so all of where there was imperial control, that's when all the drug lords, all the people traffickers then take command, and one oppressor is just replaced with another, and it's the way of the galaxy.
It's so weird how there's a lot of correlations there with like real life.
And then everyone who was, they were just doing a bit because they had no opportunities and they had to become stormtroopers or imperial officers, and now they've fallen, and now all their family and them are being rounded up and persecuted because, you were in the imperial, and the people who helped and did trade just to make a living with the imperial forces. Yeah. And now it's all like the public hangings and such, and it just shows you the realities of warfare in whatever its scope has a massive effect. And when you replace one oppressor falls only to replace with the other, and the only people who really benefited from it were probably the ultra elite of the rebellion, and everyone else suffered. Funny old thing, I think.
There's a lot of truth to that.
The rebellion, all these people sitting in their little ops room on whatever the planet is, telling all these young rebels to go out and die for the cause, but they're all living in their ivory towers and such. I mean, one thing for Star Wars, the reason why we've got so much to talk about is it's a very good meme generator.
Oh yeah, it's for sure. I mean, even like the "Hello There" meme from Obi-Wan from Episode 3, when he drops down on that one. I think it might be Kujaku or something. He drops down on the planet that General Grievous is on, and he says, "Hello there."
But it's even, I don't even recall the scene in the movie with Anakin and Skywalker and whatever the princess is called in the grass.
Padme?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, when they're late.
Did they really think when they were making that scene that this would outlive their Star Wars movies? Yeah. Like, this would be more, it's like the...
Yeah, that was on, I think that was on Naboo, actually. They were like on Naboo, and they're laying in the grass, like talking and stuff like that. And there's been so many memes made from that one scene. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to mention that you brought up, so when you were talking about how a lot of people don't really take into consideration the after effects and the ancillary impacts, second, third order effects of regime change and the things that happen with that, like what you were describing, in like, it'd be kind of interesting to see the portrayal of like what happened when the empire collapsed and the power vacuum that became a thing, and then all the people that tried to fill that, and the persecution of the people that used to serve the empire. Thinking of that, I'm like, well, I wonder what happened back when the Roman Empire collapsed. Yeah, probably something like that in a lot of places.
And we look at Germany, and after World War II, same thing, and not just in Germany, but across all the occupied lands of, people have got again, it's the portrayal of like evil, but some people, of course they're running a bar that serves German troops, and etc. And then after, it's again people using that, but really it's elimination of competition, jealousy, whatever. They use those levers, they pull those levers to then to burn down their property, and they'll open their other. But I don't know. There's also the vacuum that was left by the empire.
There's a lot of that happens. I mean, even nowadays, mean, you see that kind of thing happening just with polarization of society. Like people want to persecute, businesses that don't support their ideology, whether it's whatever side of the fence they're on. Like if like the cake company that refused to make a cake for a gay couple that was getting married or something, like they got persecuted, or vice versa. Like for example, if a gun store sold a gun to a guy that then went out and did some heinous crimes, like people want to persecute them for doing that.
I'm sure it will happen in this country. God forbid it ever happens. But if the Democrat Party won whatever election they win next, there'll be persecution of people who supported President Trump, and whether it be businesses, whether it be individuals, there'll be a reckoning for that, because such is their nature.
It's a complicated thing, man. I think the problem is...
And remember, it doesn't go both ways, and I'm sick of the argument of people saying, oh, yeah, it happens on both sides.
Yeah.
Will people stop saying that? Because it doesn't.
You don't think
within
so?
reason. I mean, it happened a little bit, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it... You can't say it happens on both sides. That's one way of saying it.
Yeah.
But you can say it happens on 99.9% on one side and 1% on the other. Again, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm sick of the argument, oh, well, both sides are just as bad. No, they're not. Stop saying it on lots of different arguments.
Yeah, and I think the real problem is that, like, people forget, because it's very easy. Well, it's lazy thinking a lot of times for people to just be like, everything that this side says is right and everything this side says is wrong, because life is very nuanced in my mind. I think that one of the biggest problems we have, part of it's because of social media, is that people, instead of like being critical thinkers and thinking for themselves and making decisions based on having adequate information to determine things, they just listen to somebody that they listen to in their echo chamber, and they're like, everything that person says is always true, it's always right. Yeah. Rather than like, hey, why don't you think for yourself, come to a determination. And part of the problem is like people are fragmented in society because a lot of time the media that's being fed to them is very polarizing, and then the algorithm knows they engage with this type of content, so they keep engaging with it, and then it keeps feeding that to them, and then it reinforces their values on whatever side they're on, and they get some people they get stuck in this hyperbole version, when in fact most people are somewhere, like, say, here's the middle, and then like here's the fringes. These guys get the most attention because they're saying the most crazy, outlandish stuff, but most people are like, center right or center left or somewhere in the center, because at the end of the day, like, most people, they just want to be able to afford good health care. They want to be able to like put a roof over their head. They want gas to be relatively inexpensive. They want to have a good paying job. Maybe they want some land. Maybe they want to be able to protect their family, like normal stuff. Yeah. Most people. Yeah. And it's just a lot of times all we're seeing is the extreme on one side or the other. And what that does is it fragments everybody and pulls people apart.
It is flowing back into it as well. And people are capable of, well, I say, being normal. Now, like you say, we see people saying, oh, I can't support him because he likes this guy or says this or does this or whatever. And if you think about, again, I'm giving people credit here, when you've got different friends. Yeah. I have friends, so X guy absolutely despises another guy, but both of those guys are my friends. Yeah. And what people seem to be doing now, not with friends, but it maybe is happening with some, is you've got to give and take. It's like, I like it, because now how that would turn out if we did the model that people are following on social media would be, I can't be your friend because you're friends with him and I hate him. Yeah. So it's like, and we compromise daily with friends and families. Some of us do. I think some people now are going that whole, doing the whole 9 yards and going, I can't be your friend because you support Donald Trump or you hunt animals or you do this. So it doesn't matter what you've done. Doesn't matter how good of a guy you are. I can't like you anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a problem too, because like then people end up othering people, and it's like, hey, bro, like, look, we're all Americans. Now, there are a lot of people that live in America that I've seen that genuinely hate the country that they live in, which I always thought was the strangest thing.
But no, I think that's really, you know what's really, it's a really good thing. Do you know what, that shows you how good America is? So that line, America is so good that even the people who hate it won't leave. So.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Well, there's a reason why people are scraping and clawing their way to get here. Yeah. It's not because it sucks here. Yeah. I'll tell you that. Yeah. It's not because it sucks here. This is my personal opinion. I've always felt that the United States is the greatest country in the history of the universe. And that was told, I'm stealing that from somebody else who said that. Just because, like, at the end of the day, we we take all these different cultures, creeds, nationalities, religions, we put them into one culture, and when you come here, nobody cares what country you came from. Now you're an American, and and if you want to contribute to the American society and be a part of American life and contribute to making this country better and better, then you're welcome here. And if you're willing to work for it and you're willing to earn your keep like everybody else does, then that we should encourage that, like, and doing it the right way, doing it legally, doing it legitimately. We should always encourage that. And I think most people feel that way as well. But
because one of someone's, I don't know who it is who's pushing it about the dual citizenship piece.
The geo citizenship?
Dual.
Oh, dual. What's that?
So it's when you have two passports.
Oh, dual.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you said, sorry.
Dual citizenship.
I'm being stupid, forgot.
And I'm like, why is this even a debate?
Yeah.
To me, it's like deeply offensive. It's like, hey, if you want to be an American, you've got to get rid of your other passport. You've got to be an American.
Yeah.
If I was immigration and said, no, I want to keep my UK, Somali, whatever applicable passport.
Yeah.
I'd be like, nope.
Pick one.
And then to add another sparrow in the works, and by the way, I want to run for office, but obviously I've got another passport. Then it's like, I mean, there's always, again, nothing's ever clear cut.
Yeah.
But especially if you've got dual different parents. But to me, it's like, if you want to be an American, you want to be an American. So this is more applicable, I think, is, again, it's like I say, it's all very complicated if you've got different your parents, one's British or one's American, and then you have to choose. That's kind of a bit nuanced. But if you're coming into this country, whether it be as an asylum seeker or, but I should say as a legal immigrant, a legal, not illegal immigrant, a legal immigrant, you come in, like, there should be no question about, oh yeah, I want both passports. And it'd be like, no, you don't get citizenship if that's the case.
Yeah.
You either become an American or you remain a permanent resident or on a visa or whatever applicable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But being American is I've said it a lot and I will continue to say it. I've got a remarkable career and I've done some notable things. But I think one of the biggest privileges on the planet is to be an American citizen. And I only wish more Americans could see this.
I think the people that typically don't like America that are American citizens is because we've gotten very spoiled and we're very far removed from a lot of things as Americans because most Americans don't get that perspective of seeing in person what it looks like in other countries.
Yeah. But it's like, if it's so bad, go.
Yeah.
And I know some celebrities have gone. And like I say, if you went to the UK or Ireland or wherever, if you're rich, then it doesn't matter. If you've got lots of money, then you can live a good life anywhere. But if you're a standard human being, that's, like we say, it's the reason why everyone wants to come here. And like I've said in time before, and I didn't realize, I must have like subconsciously heard it from Ronald Reagan. But again, America's the light of the world.
It really is.
And no one, if America fails as a nation, really fails as a nation, then it's a civilization change for the planet.
Yeah.
Life will all go on, but it is America, in my opinion, is the only thing that is holding the world in order.
Yeah.
Life in Africa and Asia and things will just go on as normal, but when America fails, then there's no one coming to help us.
Yeah.
No one's going to come in, if something bad happens in America, like an object strike from outer space or a huge earthquake or volcanic eruption, and no one's coming to assist us.
Yeah.
The only people who are, if such a catastrophic event happens in America, the only people who are coming to America are people to hurt us and exploit us. Yeah. That's it. So
that's one thing.
It's sad to say, but we're on our own.
I think, that's the one thing I think about a lot too, is like, think about any time a natural disaster like happens. There are some times where other countries will show up to help and stuff like that, but it's usually in small numbers and it's not nearly as common as like when America shows up. Because like the earthquake in 2011 that hit the Fukushima power plant in Japan, guess who showed up? They sent Marines over there. Mm-hmm. They sent a bunch of people over there to respond to it. When the earthquake happened in Haiti, guess who they sent? They sent Marines over there. They sent United States military members over there and all kinds of other people to help.
Everything else from a world reaction, whether it be conflict, whether it be disaster relief, in my opinion,
Yeah.
is just a token response. The United States of America is the only country has the ability to respond in any capacity. Everything else is irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Because words don't do anything to like help people. Really.
Yeah.
It's just you're talking, but like actually sending human beings
And
like flesh and bone out there to like pull people out of rubble, feed people, give them shelter, get them set up so that they can like get back on their feet. Like that kind of stuff requires feet on the ground.
Because from what I've saw as well is like even if countries like the UK or European countries respond, most of the time in part of that response, it requires US assistance anyway in some sort of capacity.
Yeah.
Maybe not all the time, but like I said, but what if they do respond, what effect will they actually have? But I just think it's important, as always, and I'm preaching to the choir and stuff, is that's my view on where America stands and how we are. But one thing is important, it should always be America first. And as long as we keep on this current path, which we're on in the current administration, then America's going to get stronger and stronger.
Part of the reason why I think a lot of people identified with that specific way of doing business is because you look at it like in its pure form, when people say America first, the intent behind that, the whole thought premise behind that is like, if you don't help yourself, how can you expect yourself to be capable of helping somebody else? And it's like if you're sick, but you want to help people. Well, you got to get yourself well first. You got to take your medicine. You got to get sleep. You got to go eat food, work out, get yourself healthy. Once you're healthy again, then you can start doing
the way
things.
America should view it, and we, without realizing, we see it all the time when we fly. What do they say? Should the oxygen mask fall, make sure your mask is on first before you help someone else.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Same kind of exactly. So I think there's a lot of merit to that for sure. But I do agree that the world would be a dark place if America did crumble or disintegrate. And because, like you said, number one, the people that would be showing up would be people that were trying to exploit it more than likely, especially if we fought each other, which God forbid, hopefully that never happens. And I don't think that I like to think I'm an optimistic person. I think that most Americans don't have any interest in that. They want to like help their fellow member, their fellow neighbor, their community. And that'll come down to like the community level, like the local municipality level in each state and stuff like that. And some states are better off than others, obviously. And some states have a better level or better sense of community than others because, obviously like large cities, people kind of lose that sense of community because it's not the same in big cities as it is like if you're in a more rural environment where people know each other and they grew up with their families and stuff like that. I guess a lot of people probably view this as a tumultuous period in history for America, but I do believe that we'll get through it. And it's just, sometimes people got to feel a little bit of pain.
I think the mainstream media have a lot to answer for.
Yeah, I mean, they do a lot of fuel into that stuff.
Because they're the, if anything, they're responsible for like the polarization of the country.
Yeah,
and this is across Europe and everywhere. It's like
I think a lot of people feel that way too.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people. I mean, Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. There's a reason that a lot of these folks have lost a lot of credibility in their rating. Like there's reason big podcasters like Joe Rogan and other folks have get more views and get more engagement than a lot of these large, huge conglomerate organizations and stuff.
Well, it's strange how it's the same with the movies and like the critical drinker. I think he gets more views than the movies he's reviewing.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of funny. He does a very interesting job of his commentary too. It's like I've listened to a lot of his videos. He does a really good job with his funny quips and stuff like that. He's a Brit too, right?
Yeah, yes. I believe so. I don't know if he lives in the United States or he lives in UK, but he's a Scotsman.
Oh, Scotsman?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's British.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So he's British. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. My grandfather's side of the family left Scotland in the 1800s after the potato famine and came to the United States, and they worked really hard to build businesses and build up and stuff like that. So I mean, people come from all over the place to come here. That's why I love America. It's a melting pot. People come from all over the planet. Maybe they had a hard life where they were at, and they're like, I'm trying to find a better life. Let me go to America.
And one thing, again, I've said this time and time and time, it is very hard to get into this country legally.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah. If you're doing it the legal way, yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. And it should be.
It's hard, and exactly. That's what someone said that to me recently. They said, "Oh, do you think they should make it easier for people to get into the country, especially if they're ex-military or whatever?" And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. The one thing they should do, they should make the process more efficient.
Yes.
But not easier.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference with that.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is easier, but it should be more efficient.
Yeah.
Because if you make it easier, then there's no loyalty. There's no reward. That's why when you speak to a lot of immigrants, how supportive they are of ICE and everything, because they know how much it cost them, both financially, spiritually, to get into this country.
Yeah.
And then they're seeing all these people who did it the wrong way. Get them the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Because no amnesty, no nothing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, is someone gonna if they did an amnesty, you say, oh, is someone gonna refund me all the money that I paid?
Yeah.
In legal fees, etc., to become a permanent resident in America.
Yeah.
So no, if you do it like illegal immigrants, when people say, oh, they should only go after the criminals, they are criminals. That's why they're called illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Not undocumented, illegal.
Yeah.
So therefore, they are breaking the law, and by meaning of that means everything they do is illegal.
Well, the fact is you can't have a country if you don't have borders. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, borders are just a man-made construct. It's not real. Well,
except when they talk, but then they'll talk about Greenland. Then it doesn't matter. Oh, so what's the problem with Greenland then? Yeah. If there's no borders and everyone's so, but now it's all like, no, it's sovereign territory.
Oh, man. Dude, that is
I'm speaking out of line. I'm not out of line, out of lane.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fully done. But again, also it doesn't matter. Oh, now it matters to you.
The whole Greenland thing that's a whole powder keg, a whole can of worms, I guess.
That's why someone said, I made a little joke on a forum. It was funny and I was just nerdy. Yeah. But someone said, what do you think about the UK? Where's it going? And I said, I personally think it's very hard to recover from where they are. Yeah. I think if they ever come out of the problems that they're having, it will never be the same. To simplify a very complex problem.
Yeah.
One way of looking at it would be good if it was the 53rd state.
The 53rd, man. You know what's crazy is more people have been arrested for social media posts in the UK than in Belarus or Russia or China.
Yeah.
How nuts is that?
And it'd be interesting to see. I don't know what the timeline is between this coming out, between us chatting today and it coming out. By the time we're watching this, is X illegal in UK, Australia, Canada?
Yeah, I remember seeing that stuff. Yeah, they're talking about that.
And if they do that, they've put their cards out. If they've done that while you're watching this, then they've put their cards out on the ground saying,
yeah.
The first stage was we'll ban people for saying that we don't agree with. Nothing hostile, just what we don't agree with.
Yeah.
And then the next stage is we're just going to take the platform down.
Yeah.
So to protect kids, we won't take down sites.
Yeah.
We won't take down Snapchat, but we'll take down X because to protect children.
Yeah. I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said that those who are willing to trade security for freedom deserve neither.
Yeah.
I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said that.
I have that framed on in my hallway.
That's a pretty valuable, profound statement.
Yeah. It's for that. I've got a glass image of that with the stars and stripes behind it in the hallway of my house.
I always think back to how brilliant those guys were, man. They were all they were very young. A lot of them were very young, other than Thomas Jefferson. He was a little bit older than the rest of them. But a lot of those guys, like Alexander Hamilton, early 20s, and they're founding a nation at that age.
But
which is so
I mean, if you think about it, again, that's why America is so good, because they had the opportunity to experience all these kind of crappy things that were going on.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, if we make a country, what are we going to do to fix it?
Yeah.
Well, we need the freedom of speech. We need to be able to protect ourselves. We need something in place. The whole good old line is we need the first and most important one has to be protected by the second.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons we're here is for a convention that's, advocating for the Second Amendment, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons why SHOT Show's such a valuable, expo, just for that reason. Because, I mean, that's another one of those situations you're talking about that people are constantly trying to chip away at as much as they can. And so, like, you have to fight just as viciously and ruthlessly in the opposite direction, because if you don't, then it's like they're just going to take as much ground as they can and keep taking ground.
Interesting, and I support a lot of Second Amendment foundations and things, and the Second Amendment Foundation is one I'm quite involved with. But it's even just when you look at it that way, it's like, it's strange how in some states you can say, oh, well, you can't exercise your Second Amendment right in X state, but it'd be weird if they said you can't exercise your First Amendment right here. No one would think. Remember, it's a right. It's not a privilege.
Yeah.
So it's weird how the view that one particular amendment can be modified, and because we don't agree with it. But it would, like I say, it would seem really weird is, you can't exercise your First or Fifth Amendment in this state because we don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's acceptable to do it for one other.
Well, the problem is that I've seen the most recently is the fact that people conflate, or they confuse the First Amendment. They confuse certain actions as being a part of the First Amendment, like freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Because, yes, you do have the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression. That doesn't bleed into you have
breaking
the right
the
to interfere with, like, law enforcement operations.
Exactly. It'd be like someone buying a gun, walking out on the high street, shooting someone through the head and saying, I'm just exercising my Second Amendment.
Yeah, that's not how this works,
no,
bud.
It doesn't work. So it's the same thing with the First Amendment. It's just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to impede federal operations.
Yeah.
I'm exercising. No, you're not. You're breaking the law.
Yeah, you can't impede on federal law enforcement operations. It'd be like if somebody was like trying to stop Border Patrol from deporting people. Like, you can't do that. You can you can protest.
Yeah.
You can protest with signs. You can be as loud as you want, and as long as you're not stopping them from conducting operations, you're not breaking any laws. But the second you start interfering with, like, law enforcement agents for actually doing their job, it'd be like if a cop was chasing somebody that just robbed a store at gunpoint down the street and you tripped the cop. That's illegal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you, like, agree with law enforcement or cops or you're supportive of them or not. You're doing an illegal action, interfering. That's not freedom of expression or freedom of speech. That's interfering with law enforcement. And people conflate the two, and then they see, so look, they're against the First Amendment. It's like, no, dude. Yeah. Like, we should all want everybody, no matter how you feel, to be able to say your piece publicly and not be persecuted for that.
Yeah.
That's all good. But so there's a difference,
Here's something on public opinion and brainwashing and just mainly just like being stupid.
Yeah.
So I was in Austin, Texas, a few weeks. This was 2 weeks ago. I'm having a coffee, and the table next to me, there's two ladies, aged probably in their 40s, 50s. You could see that they had a wealthy look, and it was in a kind of bougie coffee shop, so they got money. Next to them, there was someone with a dog, and it was for sale, and I made a comment, and then they said, oh, you've got an accent, where's that, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from the UK. And we're talking, all very pleasant, and I said, I live here, and I live in Texas, and I said, I'm pleased I am to be here and stuff, and they said, oh, well, we want to go where you're going. And I'm like, what?
Or where you're from?
Well, sorry, we want to go. It's funny that you want to be here, but we want to be where you're from. I went, well, you don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. I goes, it's falling apart. I goes,
it's falling apart.
It's falling apart. They're arresting people for things that, if you post something not inflammatory, but something that they tend to just don't agree with, they can spin it however they want. She goes, well, that's what's going on here. And I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And they went, yeah, well, look at the current president. He's just sending people out to hurt people. And I again, I had to remain calm.
Yeah, because you didn't want to start a.
Yeah, but it was
argument.
It was more of like the whole. But that's what they said. The president is sending people out to hurt people.
Yeah.
And I went, I have to disagree with you there. And obviously, smiling, being all passive, I said, President Trump is sending federal agents out to remove criminals.
Yeah.
And they went, what? And to be fair, they were receptive. But I was saying, he's sending people out, he's sending federal agents out to remove criminals. I said, hey, make no bones about it. I said, right now they're targeting not only they're here illegally, but they are criminals. They're the worst of the worst, and that's who they're grabbing.
Yeah.
But rest assured, I'm sure once we're done with the people who are committing crime, then we'll get the other people who are actually still committing crime by being here illegally.
Yeah.
I said, and they were immigrants. And I said, it must have cost you a lot of money, time and money to get here. Wouldn't you feel a bit upset if they said, oh, we're just going to do an amnesty and it's water under the bridge, you can all become Americans? You'd be like, well, what did I do all that for? And they went, oh, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
And like I said, they were really nice people, but it was like a wake up to them, because they're just like whatever they're watching on TV, probably MSNBC or something like that, or the president's just sending people out to hurt people.
Yeah.
Like
somebody told them to believe that.
Yeah.
They didn't arrive at that conclusion on their own. Like I said, I think part of that is just because like where people get their information from can sway their opinion, rather than if you're just like you collect factual information and then you use that information, you think through stuff and you come to your own conclusions that you arrived at based on factual information. Yeah. And that critical thinking piece is something that we desperately need.
Well, it's like when people say to me, people close to me who are, oh yeah, but he's separating families when they're getting arrested. And I'm like, yes, that's because they're criminals. I said you can't, because you can't put a child in a all adult detention center. That's like if you got arrested for armed robbery and I had a small child, they wouldn't send me to prison with my child.
Yeah.
They'd have to put them in care or put them into something else. So of course they're separating them because they're breaking the law.
Yeah.
So so that's why they're separating when people, but it's just how you frame it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're separating all these families. They're separating kids from their families. One, they've always done it under all the previous administrations.
Yeah.
And two, well, because they're criminals and we can't lock everyone up together.
Because you can't put kids in a detention
Yes,
facility.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah, even though that happens in other places.
But it's kind of, when you think about it, it's like, again, that's what I'm trying to explain is, when people get given information, is you're not just given the information and then just repeat it. It's you hear one thing, and then there's, again, as you get older, and again, whatever you work out, sometimes that you've got to really analyze what they've said and why they've said it.
Yeah.
And because most of the time it's not the truth, it's just, as we always say, economical with the truth, and they've framed it in a certain way.
Yeah. To
make you think a certain way.
Yeah, because they're like, I want them to believe this. I'm going to frame this in this particular way so they believe this.
Yeah, and stats are really good for that, and how you frame the stats is, and you look at exactly what the stats are saying, don't just jump into it. And Hollywood, again, we always go back to Hollywood. I think Hollywood's a good example of like social construct of when there's, even little things like how good a movie's done.
Yeah.
And then you're reading the stats or you're reading the figures, but they're not taking into account inflation and when something was released and numbers, and they skew it to make it fit a narrative.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that happening quite a bit. Even in science-related stuff, there's certain communities in the scientific community that have done that kind of stuff during the 2020 pandemic and all that too. But
works 60%, works 100% of the time, 60% of the time. There you go.
Like, that didn't make any sense. That's a whole nother can of worms too. I wanted to ask you about, you just got back from Africa recently on a hunting expedition, right?
Yeah.
Where did you go hunting?
I was hunting in Zambia.
You went to Zambia?
Yeah.
What were you hunting while you were there?
So the main effort for me to hunt was the Cape Buffalo.
The what?
Cape Buffalo.
The Cape Buffalo?
Yeah, the Black Death.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did you get one?
Yes. It was the most dangerous it's the most dangerous animal to hunt.
Really? More than hippopotamus?
Yeah. It's not, so that's the whole thing, skew on numbers. We're not saying which is the most dangerous animal. It's the most dangerous animal to hunt.
Okay.
So yeah, and it was amazing. The reason why it was amazing was I was delayed in South Africa because my gun didn't catch up with me. So I took my own gun out there, 416.
No kidding.
Rigby with the Mauser 98, which is based on basically the grandfather of rifles.
Yeah.
An amazing, beautiful rifle in Chimberton 416 Rigby, which is a beast of a caliber for big game, dangerous game hunting. And I had to wait. So the guys who got ahead of me. They turned up, they tracked the animals. They went out hunting buffalo, tracked their animals, and got them the first day.
Yeah.
So I got there 4 days later and went out and in the blazing heat in the bush, we tracked the group of buffalo, and then quietly kind of stalk up on them, keeping downwind. And when we were seeing them, watching, like looking for, because we don't shoot the females, shoot the male, the bulls. And because it was day one, the PH, a guy called Cody, brilliant guide, brilliant, real fun to hang with. He was like, since it's day one, this is not very good, because hunting, in essence, hunting is conservation.
Yeah.
So to people who don't hunt, we don't just go out and shoot anything and everything. It's super regulated, and it's for the management. It's animal management.
Yeah.
And places in Africa are seeing big problems with this, because all the people wanting to protect wildlife don't see the second order effects, because then you have overpopulation of certain species, which has massive impact on lots of other things, whether it be human factors or animal factors. So it's like, it's the first day. We can get a better one than this, a more mature bull. So what we didn't think, we always work on the whole, I'll take what the bush gives me. But we were like, fine. Then the rain started, which made it harder to track. So the next day now we're against it. Found some tracks, but didn't get on them. Next day, different area. So what happened for me was 4 days of really hard tracking. And eventually, in typical me, like most of the time, like day one would have been, is we found the pack or the herd. Exposed, see the one over there. Yeah, that's what we're going to take. Okay, set up tripods or whatever. Okay, take the shot. And then the range. So the range of this, actually, just so people know, is usually between anything after 70 yards is a big gay. So it's close range.
Really?
And that's why it's so dangerous, because
you're getting 70 meters away from these things.
Yeah, 70 yards, 70 meters, all the same. But because if you miss the shot off the sea and decide to charge, you've got a very few precious seconds to take that down. Otherwise, you're getting killed. And I think there was a US hunter killed by a Cape buffalo a few weeks before we went out there. Not in that lodge, and I don't know if it was Zambia or not, but he got charged and killed by a Cape buffalo. They're extremely dangerous. So it's kind of close range, and you set up with on where. So we're like, I'm kind of getting stressed because I need to get this animal, and we're followed we have the trackers looking on the track, and then we go around this corner of the bush, and there's right in front of us are the buffaloes. So it was no time to even think about it.
How many meters out were they?
I think it was about 40, 50 yards. I'd have to look at the video.
So not far.
This video, not that far. Took the shot, and again, it's interesting to see how your mind replays things, because I'd up, and the bull that was shooting was behind a tree. We just see, he said, sees his horns sticking out. Yeah, when he steps out, he's like, there we are. So he's like, when he steps out, take the shot. How my mind replayed it was he stepped out and I took the shot, and then what happens is they kind of wander off and either fall or they're injured, and you take another shot, and then when they're down, you shoot them a couple of times, so they're not going to jump back up. But when we watched the video footage, it was on full speed when I shot it. It just started running, but I just took the shot on a moving target, hit it, followed up again. There were about 40 yards or so. We said, there he is. It's like kind of, he's struggling, took the shot, and then he just did a couple of steps and fell.
Where were you trying to impact, or what were you aiming for?
It kind of the heart area.
Okay.
And but it was amazing. So took down the Cape buffalo, and then after that I killed a hippo.
A hippo too.
Yeah, a hippo and a zebra.
And a zebra.
Yeah, I needed a new rug. So
were you able to get any of these animals back to Texas?
So you can, yes. So the hippo, my peer, professional hunter, he said, if you don't want anything, can I take the skull? So yes, and all the meat, I know I should say all the meat and stuff goes to the locals.
Oh really?
And yeah, so we all support that, and they love us for doing it.
So it's feeding local families and stuff.
But
That's cool.
in so many ways, there is no negative effect to hunting, and dare I say,
if it's done right. Because you could do it wrong, probably, right?
That's called poaching.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I say it's a bit like immigration. When I say hunting, I mean legal in the legal way.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no negative effect from hunting. Nothing. Nothing. It benefits everyone, especially the animals. Yeah. And dare I say it, the only reason why animals thrive in some African countries is in all African countries is because of hunting.
Yeah.
No hunting, no animals. Kenya's a good example. No hunting in Kenya, and some of their animal populations are really struggling in compared to countries where hunting, because it's in the interest. Because hunting, when we say hunting, that isn't applicable to indigenous people.
Yeah.
So they can hunt whenever. Yeah. They can hunt. They just get permission from the tribal leaders to hunt.
Okay.
So when we say hunting, when we say hunting is illegal in Kenya, it's not illegal to Kenyans, to indigenous, and like they get the permissions. So animals have then become, there's no money coming in because of them. And people say, oh well, tourism feeds it. No, it scratches the surface compared to hunting. They're a nuisance to livestock, nuisance to rural communities, to agriculture, everything. So they're just classed as pests, and then they're killed in an inhumane, uncontrolled and inhumane way. So hunting is just such a valuable commodity to Africa and to especially animal control.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like I said, when we do hunt, there's always a wildlife official has to go with us. So it's all done. It's so tightly controlled at super high cost, and it benefits everyone. Again, it's the opinion of me.
Yeah.
But there's no negative effect from hunting in Africa. Everything is positive.
And did you say you were able to bring any stuff back with you?
Yes, you can bring. And so the skull of the buffalo is coming back, as is the skin of the zebra.
Nice.
I say.
Where are you going to put the zebra rug? Or the zebra skin, I mean.
Yeah, I'll use it as like a rug on the in my home.
Do you have like a fireplace?
I'm moving to Tennessee soon, so we'll see how the house is.
We're going to talk about that off camera.
All right. I'll find a place for it in the home.
Okay, that's going to be cool. That's another good state, by the way. Great choice. If you're going to live in any state in the United States, like Texas and Tennessee are great spots. But that's cool that you're able to get the zebra skin and then also the buffalo head or the skull.
Yeah, I mean, you can get them mounted as well. You can get them full mounted. You can get as much as you want. Mounted? No, but I mean, I'm doing what we call the European mount, so it's just the skulls. It's like the skull with nothing on it. But you could, if you wanted to, get as much done as you want. But it costs quite a lot of money.
I'm sure.
And you need the real estate in your home to put up there as well.
Yeah, because it's big. I mean, it's a big head. Yeah. You know, you'd probably need like some vaulted ceilings and maybe like a nice log cabin style thrown up on there. I don't know. That's cool though, man. So you had a good time while you're out there. How many days were you out in Africa for?
10 days.
10 days total.
10 days total. But I like the camp where we were at in Zambia was just amazing. It was kind of people would call it rustic.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was high luxury. It was amazing, and I could have spent the rest of my life living on that camp.
What was the living conditions?
It was like a room. You had a mosquito net round the bed, and there was like a cold running shower. There's a toilets there.
Okay.
And there was like a nice, like we had like a eating area and stuff. And to live there doing that every day is like my version of like that would be like heaven, like a Valhalla kind of thing of just to. And that's what Valhalla is to fight and hunt all day. And I can see why that was a choice of an afterlife, because I can't think of anything better. I like to be in Africa hunting animals I think is one of the most amazing experiences I've done.
Yeah,
and hopefully this year I'm doing it again, unless something goes wrong or whatever. But unless all the commitments, but I won't tell you what I'm hunting this year. I'm sure there's going to be I'll be bathing in liberal tears. And,
I can take a couple of guesses, I'm sure. Is that the first time you've been back to Africa since 2019?
It is, yeah.
What was the feeling for you going back for the first time since then?
I mean, it's good. It reminded me of like Africa is such a magical place. But what is interesting is I know some people, the event that I did, and it's rubbed some Africans up, not many, but the people who are probably educated in universities, they don't like it. But I met someone from the DRC, and he said, "You're the most famous white man in Africa."
Are you really?
And he said, "You are like a hero." And again, recognition kind of different. But when people did recognize me, as in Black South Africans and things, they were like, "Are you that man?" And
Are you that man?
Yeah, and they think it's great because those, like I say, I think the only negatives, a lot of the negative things I've seen from Africans are typically people who have either moved to America or been to university and have that like point of view. I'm like, oh, white savior or whatever. But the more open-minded, normal people in Africa, they see me as an ally of how I helped, how I didn't just turn up, rescue some friends and leave. I turned up, worked the problem with Kenyans, and stayed till the end. It was really surprising to be recognized by people, and then people saying like, "Oh, when people know who you are," again, it's good. It's humbling, and it caught me off guard, but Africa is a good place. And the other thing with hunting, dangerous game, is I've always had these nerdy thoughts about if you wanted to make an extreme elite unit, what would you do to train people and, conditioning and all these things. And, I've done arguably the hardest selection courses on the planet. And one of the things I would input in if you, with the lack of a war on terror, is at the end of your training, you have to go on a dangerous game hunt. That's why it's called dangerous game hunting.
Yeah,
it's dangerous.
Yeah, because it's dangerous. That makes sense.
It's good because you have to go into that zone, especially when you're only a few yards away from a load of big animals that could kill you if they wanted to.
Yeah, you got to be, as the kids like to call it, locked in.
Yeah, locked in, quiet, disciplined, moving towards. Keep your head about you, and then when you've got to produce the goods, you got to take the shot. 416, pretty tricky bullet to fire.
Yeah,
it kicks hard, and completely missing the shot. It's embarrassing. But the other thing as well is, if it decides to charge, which isn't that common, but if it does, you've got seconds, and not many of them, to react and take down that target.
Did you get to do a quick zero of your rifle when it got in?
Yeah, we did a check zero, but again, the average engagement range is 25 to 50 yards.
That's just so crazy. And that's a long gun. With a gun like that, you'd normally shoot probably 200-300 yards out or something like that.
Not 416 Rigby. I mean, hopefully I'm not that well versed on it, but like I say, you can probably reach out, but I'm not comfortable over 100 yards.
Yeah.
It's either red dot sight or iron sights only.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was using on that particular gun that day. I had a aim point red dot.
Really?
On it, yeah.
Oh, wow.
One of the old school ones.
Yeah.
But it's irons or red dot. Cause it's 416 travels. It's a large bullet.
Slow
traveling
velocity.
Very fast.
Oh, very fast.
Very fast.
Okay.
Which is why it's a beast when it goes. Somebody might correct me, but if it goes pretty straight, but then it falls off fast.
Oh,
and there's a big
because
drop.
It's so heavy.
A big drop off. Yeah.
Okay.
But for me, anything and it's expensive ammunition, so I didn't get a chance to really dial it in. But yeah, anything from personally, I'd say anything after 125 yards is like a bit of a Hail Mary.
The anniversary of the events that took place in 2019 was pretty recently, was it not?
Mm-hmm.
What was the date for that?
The 15th and 16th of January.
Of January?
Yeah.
So just for context, for those of you that are watching this video right now, it's probably getting posted later. But today, right now, is the 21st of January of 2026. the anniversary for the events that took place in your life in 2019 was, a week ago, maybe. And so that makes it, 7 years ago?
Yeah, 7 years. I can't believe how long it seems just like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But
it feels like it was just yesterday, probably.
Yeah.
So would you say that it's still pretty easy to remember a lot of the moments that you experienced during that?
Yeah.
Like very vividly?
Yeah. Like it. And the thing about it was, it's kind of amusing. I was involved in the incident, and when I was moving and shaking around there, initially working by myself, then with vigilantes, then back to myself, then with Kenyan police, then with Kenyan police special mission unit, the recce squadron. One thing that was going in the back of my mind is, damn, I'm going to have to write a report about this. So I was like working. That was a big concern. I was like, oh, how am I going to frame this? And I'm going to have to report about this as soon as I get out of here.
Yeah.
So dreading the paperwork.
That's the paper. Yeah, people hate the paperwork side. Yeah.
So when I finished it ended in that afternoon. I sat down with someone else and with an officer and helped me write the report to get back. And then a few days after, I did a PowerPoint presentation about the incident to a squadron back in Hereford, and it's remained more or less the same since. So there's been no memory fade of I remember it like this or whatever. It changes. There's been some slight details when I was writing a book about it, which is now. I was speaking to some of the Kenyan officers who was there and things, and I went, oh, right, that makes sense now. So, but it wasn't anything super groundbreaking, but it was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And
some slight details that maybe you didn't see.
In the book that I wrote about it, which no one can read yet, is, like I say at the start, this is according to my, people might disagree with some of the things I say or whatever, but this is what happened in my world.
According to your perspective.
Yeah.
Because the things that you saw and experienced are going to be different than the things that say a Kenyan police officer in a different location that was responding.
I'm not going to even. I don't want to talk about that point this much, but I've seen some of the reports and stuff, and it's fantasy, absolute fantasy, and it's just on memory as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a moment in there where I go running by myself, and the only reason I remember, so a friend of mine from the U.S. Navy, a few days after, sent me the video clip
from the news,
and I was like, and all of a sudden I'd completely forgot about that moment. As soon as I saw it, then it all came flooding back. Oh yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't have sent me that clip, it would have been lost in time. And then it's like, it's similar to what I said in my version when I shot the buffalo. In my mind, the buffalo just stepped out from the tree and I took the shot.
Yeah.
But the reality was it was running at full speed and I took the shot. So it's just how your mind replays things.
Well, yeah, recollecting certain memories.
But the good thing about it, for me, the strong point for me is I had to write about it that day. I came out of the complex, and then a few hours later, wrote about it, and then brief about it a few days later, and it's remained the same. Where it would have been very, it would be an interesting exercise, to if I'd never thought about it, and then 7 years from the day, say, right, I want you to write an account of that event. It'd be interesting to see what that would look like.
Yeah.
And I actually saw firsthand as well when I was from there. Is again, it's the interesting thing of the day after the attack, I speak to a guy, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, I lived nearby, and I could see from my window what was or from a balcony what was going on." That was one day after. About 5 days after, it was, I was on the balcony and I was shouting directions to the police and military about what was going on. Okay. 2 weeks later, he was completely involved with the organization and coordination with police response and stuff.
So his story kept changing and evolving.
And that happened a lot. That happens a lot with that incident. It was a good friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. She's involved with security, and they had officers in there. And she was, oh yeah, there's a friend of mine. He's ex-UK military. And he was there and he rescued some people. And I went, oh, all right. And I said, because lots of people chipped in eventually, especially after I responded, not that long after, and people were doing their own little things. Eventually, there was only me and the Kenyan police in there. And then she said, yeah, at night he went in and got them out. And I went, no, he didn't. And she went, oh, no, he did. He's wrote the report. He went in at night and got them. I know categorically that from when it was dark, the only non-Kenyan in that complex was me. Inside the complex, I should say. I mean, that's kind of a loose phrase, not exactly true.
It's like a shopping center,
but
right?
No, it was a hotel complex.
A hotel complex.
But it's like, oh, right. No, he went and rescued them. I goes, no one was going through that threshold at night. I know this firsthand. And they were like, all right. Credit, he did come true with it. When she pressed him, how the story really was he was at the threshold. He told Kenyan police where these civilians were in the office, and they went and got them out. So his version of events first was he rescued these people from the complex. But the reality was he told Kenyan police where they were, and they went to grab them out of the office and take them out. So it just shows. And again, I'm super. I don't know who the guy is, and I've never met him, but I'm thankful that he helped and stuff. And I know he was searching for them initially. But it's interesting, like a lot of I always say peel a couple of layers back from someone's story, and you start to see the truth, and it starts leaking out. I don't talk about my service in the SAS outside of that day, and the only reason why I talk about that day is because the whole world saw it. Yeah, I think it's far cool. This would be a lesson to any aspiring person who wants to talk about themselves and stuff. Is it's far better to downplay something than up it up. Because if someone says, "Oh, did you hear about this guy? He was there that day," and I'll be like, if I went, "Yeah, well, I know what he did, and he did this or he did that. I didn't see him, but I know he didn't do anything after a certain time." That's not cool. I'm like I say, I'm always thankful for everyone that helped that day. And everyone who helps anyone in any circumstance. But it's far cooler if you downplay it and then they speak to someone who's in the know and go, "Oh no, he did a lot more than that." Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I think that's way more badass. Yeah. I agree. It's like if you downplay, like, "Oh, I didn't really do all that."
Eventually, if you've done something badass or whatever, eventually, because they'll speak to peers or whatever, and then they'll say, "No, he's downplayed it. He's done a lot." That's much more cooler than going, "Christian Craighead, he bigs things up a bit." That's not cool. Yeah. And that's what I've tried to do. So everything, even if one day, I hope one day you might get the opportunity to read the book, that even that book is somewhat downplayed. But, right now no one can read it, but you never know. I'm confident that one day somebody will read the book.
I think so too. So, now tell me real quick, just for people that don't know, what's the significance of the shirt that you're wearing right now?
This is called the Archer shirt. It's from my own company, the Ministry of Defense, which is a US company. And, currently, right now, for anyone who's aware of the Ministry of Defense, it's theministryofdefense.com. If you just type ministryofdefense.com, you'll go to the UK Ministry of Defense. You don't want to be there. It's not a nice place. The Ministry of Defense. Right now, I don't think there's a few bits and pieces in stock, some like trial things, but I'm doing a major shake-up of the brand, and hopefully by March, April, we'll have the reset and things will be coming out. But we've done this before. It's the Archer shirt. It's coming out. There's going to be a new run of it in April time. It's based on the shirt that Danny Archer, a character in the movie Blood Diamond, wears, and it's the only difference is it's got the little Blackbeard logo here.
You know who probably would really appreciate having a shirt like that? Do you know the guy, Administrative Results? I think
he's ripped me off one time already, so I'm not going to give him another chance. Why do you think he wears that balaclava?
Oh yeah, the balaclava.
That balaclava was he wore that because of me. Yeah, and he said that very quickly. He acknowledged it, and I spoke to him, and then hey, it's all love. Yeah, it's all love. I'm not like bad. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he's got.
I think he's got one anyway. I think he's got one.
He probably does. Yeah.
But he's a good dude.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's a great guy. I love that guy. Awesome human being. But I think if anybody would appreciate, because I think a lot of his channels.
It's when people said, "Oh, you wear that when I like the balaclava, the infamous balaclava," and it's like, "Oh, that's like administrative results." I'm like, it's not.
Well, for the reason he was wearing it at first was because he wanted to kind of like keep it low key.
Yeah, but I think he based it off. He saw it on me first. That's why, hence the whole balaclava thing started.
Yeah, interesting.
So
I don't know. I've never asked him.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure because he said it when he was being interviewed by someone. Or I think no, it wasn't. He did a video about me.
Okay.
And he very quickly passes over, but he's saying it's like homage to me.
Paying homage to.
I think so. And if he comes out screaming and kicking, then again, apologise. We're suffering from that memory.
It's thing. Okay. I'm sure.
It's my version of events. So if he comes back going, that's not true, I apologize.
I guarantee he's got a lot of respect for you as a warrior, a modern.
I've
day
never
warrior.
sent him a cease and desist. Or
There we go.
That's it. I always say that.
But I just think that's there's a reason why I think the shirt is a cool shirt because like you said
Again, it's the if you know you know.
Yeah, if you know you know.
That's
exactly.
why. That's what the whole reason we did it. It's like there's very few people who will see the connection of it.
Yeah.
But when you see it, they're like, oh right.
It makes it special for you and for anybody that understands. But so how many years in total did you serve for? You allowed to say
28.
28 years.
Yeah.
And you joined when you were 18.
16.
16.
Yeah, 16.
You allowed to?
Yeah.
You're allowed to join at 16.
Yeah.
Wow. What did you do when you started out?
You still can do this, and they have so right now they have the Army. I think it's called the Army Foundation College.
Okay.
And on my last day in the Army, I went there and give them the presentation, the after action report on what happened in Kenya.
Oh wow.
And I spoke to 600, and I think it was 630 students. I did it twice for 2 groups.
Wow.
And they go there now and they do education, they do driving, or when they're legal, they can do driving. I think they prepare themselves for service in the military. So at 17 and a half, they then graduate. I think it's a year. They do a year there, then they go into the normal training for the military. When I joined in 1992,
1992, geez.
Yeah.
That's a baby.
I'm 50, so I'm an
You're
old.
50?
Yeah.
You don't look a day over 40, man.
But
You've aged very well. You don't have hardly any goddamn gray hair in your head.
it's
You're doing good.
But I keep on changing my human skin over my reptilian body. So
I'm changing my human skin.
No one's like,
He's just joking. Everybody calm down.
and so I knew it. I'm going to blink the other way. When I joined, there was 3 sort of routes. So there's the apprenticeship. So if you were joining like the Royal Signals, the Royal Engineers, something like that, you would do go to an apprenticeship college to learn that skill and still on military stuff.
Yeah.
You then had what were called junior leaders. So all of the infantry would have junior leaders. So that was a year training, 1 year training, and you could be like a junior corporal or junior regimental sergeant major if you're the best person and stuff. So you did a bit of leadership and all that stuff. And you were still in the army, and your army number would still. So you are in the army at that time. Yeah. And one exception of them all was the parachute regiment, which is the elite of the British Army, or the British, outside of Special Forces, is the elite unit.
Okay. The British Parachute Infantry Regiment?
It's the parachute regiment.
The parachute
People
regiment.
call it para-reg.
Okay.
They had what they called junior para, which was 6 months. There was no rank in there. You didn't become a junior lance corporal or whatever. You were just a junior, or all equally worthless. And it was just 6 months of conditioning, you could say.
In Wales or something?
It was in Purbright, in the Guards, what used to be called the Guards Depot in Purbright. And I was 27 platoon, and it was the last ever time they did it.
Oh, wow.
I think they still have a junior para platoon in Harrogate in the Army Foundation College. Okay. But this was called junior para, and it was in Purbright in Surrey.
In Surrey?
The number of people who did junior para, who passed junior para, then passed into the parachute regiment, they've got an exceptionally high number of people who went on to either be command sergeant majors of the parachute regiment or SAS soldiers. So they were doing something right.
Yeah.
And it's a good philosophical point of view is, so I looked at the Army Foundation College, which is running today, and you're doing an outstanding job. I thought, wow, this is good. That is the kind of place, if you had a 16-year-old child and they were joining the army, you should feel good about it. They're getting prepared for life, not just in the army, but life in general. And foundation is a good word for it.
Yeah.
So that's great. Happy. Let's high five each other and slap each other on the back, and we've done a great job. Junior para, 1992, and then into 1993. So I started in September 7th, 1992, and I think it was the 5th of March when we graduated and then went to Depot Para and Aldershot. Did that set you up? Did that give you a foundation for life in the army, life in the parachute regiment? Life in general?
Yeah.
Not really. But I tell you what it did do. It prepared me to run into a hotel without orders and save a lot of people. It also saved other men to storm machine gun bunkers or to not question orders and fight an enemy and be willing and some might say desperate to go into combat. So it was really conditioning young men for extreme violence.
Yeah.
So the question being is, which is right and which is wrong? Or do you want, and this is my point about where especially the British Army has lost its way. And luckily under really good leadership on a presidential and Secretary of War point of view, the US military is coming back in line of, we want warriors. As long as society remembers that, that's how we should be. I don't want people who can get on in life. I want people who can storm machine gun bunkers, fight an enemy when they're outnumbered. That's what we should be aiming ourselves for in preparing men of we want men of violence, because that's when it all comes down to it. That's what it's about. Yeah. Sadly, warfare, and everything else. Getting people ready, prepared. I applaud that, and we should. I'm not saying it shouldn't be that. But ultimately, when it comes to especially levels like the parachute regiment, Marines, Rangers, whoever else, and basically any combat arms, we need violent men and warriors. Because if the worst thing happened and it all came to all-out war, that's what's going to win a fight.
Yeah.
Not quarters, not like prepared to people who can make good life choices tend to make bad warriors.
Some of the best warriors are completely dysfunctional in society.
So it's a balance, but in hindsight, it was only in hindsight when I was saying, oh yeah, the army. I applaud the British Army and what they've done with the Army Foundation College, and it is a good thing. But it is interesting when you think the parachute regiment or junior para and parachute regiment training after that was just like another level, but it was preparing young men for extreme violence. And I think it's like the best of times, worst of times. It was. I see why they've done it, and extremely proud that I was in junior para and then in the parachute regiment soldier.
And did you graduate with like a college degree there?
No.
Because I know the way you're describing it, it sounds like a college.
I mean,
almost.
you just when I say graduate, you just pass out. You don't. There's no educational benefit to it.
You just pass out.
Yeah.
And
when
then
we
you
say
wake
pass
up
out,
and you're in the military.
Pass out is like, now you go on to training 2 weeks before what we call P company, into the parachute, parachute training.
You didn't mean pass out like you become unconscious.
No, we call it in the British military. The passing out parade is like graduation.
Okay.
So
yeah. In my head, I hear that. I'm like, oh, you mean somebody rendered you unconscious?
No. Passing out.
Totally
Passing out is like graduation.
Okay.
I don't know. What's it called? What's it called in the Marines when you finish training?
Well, you just graduate.
Yeah. So graduate.
Yeah, just
so
graduate.
It's pass out.
Okay.
And it's a military term. It's pass out. Okay. So passing out parade.
Did you ever work with the Royal Marines or the Commandos?
I didn't work with them directly. The only time I've worked with guys was from in the SAS with ex-Marines.
Okay, guys that used to be
in the Marines.
Royal Marines.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen them. I've not worked directly. I've seen them operate around, but I've never done like an
op with them.
Yeah. And let me put it like this: I'm not going to badmouth the Marines too much, but some of my best friends are ex-Royal Marines. But I'll put it like this. This is how I frame. If someone said, "What's the difference?" A Royal Marine. If you've got a daughter, if you had a daughter, and you've got a Royal Marine. Sorry, it doesn't matter if you got a daughter. A Royal Marine is someone who you want your daughter to marry. A parachute regiment soldier is someone you want to be in a fist fight with, as in by your side.
On your side, yeah. By your side, yeah.
In a bar fight.
Okay.
By your side. That's the difference between the units. If someone said, "How would you frame?" I thought about it a little bit. They're good soldiers. They're better than the average infantryman, etc. But the Royal Marines tend to be good looking.
They tend to be good looking.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All of the Royal Marines I've met were very handsome men.
Yeah, they're always good. They're good at pull-ups, and that's about it. And I'm
sure we're going to get lots of crap for that.
How they say is they're all essence and good at pull-ups. That's about that. That's the high point.
That's funny.
I think the only people who are going to get upset about this are people who aren't Marines.
Yeah.
And have got friends, but no, they're an elite unit within the British military. Like I say, they're above average good look, attractiveness, And they're like, I'd frame it as, if you said you can have a para, well, I want him to be, we're going about to get down and dirty in extreme violence. I want the paratrooper, and the Marine, he can marry my daughter. Or my cousin or my sister or whatever.
So there's a friendly rivalry between you.
It's not. I mean, I don't see it as rivalry. I know these things.
Oh, okay. I know these things. You've got a lot more experience.
This is the final word on it, and I'm saying it that they, they're all much of the same paras Marines.
Yeah.
But I think what it used to be, it might not be the same. But I think if you want to close and kill with the enemy with extreme violence, then I would definitely choose paratroopers over Marines. But what do I know?
No, well, I mean, you've got the experience, man. That's why I'm asking.
And I'm biased. I'm an ex-paratrooper, so of course I'm going to say that.
Yeah. So. Well, it could be a little biased.
I'm just trying to win them over with the good-looking comments. If they say enough time, it's like, okay, it's compromise. It's compromise here.
Yeah, it's a compromise. That's a fair compromise.
And also, they're also very hard guys in the Marines, just like there's very soft guys in the parachute regiment. So I'm not saying all of the paras are harder than all of the Marines.
Yeah.
But it's all about conditioning, mental focus, lawlessness, all that sort of stuff.
You know what I've heard is there's like, I think there might be a tenet or something like that in the Royal Marines or one of the British forces that is cheerfulness is like a leadership trait or something like that.
Well,
cheerfulness?
Maybe.
You ever heard of that?
No. But one of the things I always say, it's what is this saying? It's from Chesterton, and he says moderate strength is shown in violence. Yeah. Extreme strength is shown by levity.
Levity.
Yeah. So
I like that,
and I think and there's a whole thing. I know it because it's one of the quotes on the chapter of my book. About when all's going bad and wrong, it's like sometimes you just got to make a joke about it and just make an inappropriate. How many times have everyone's been suffering or it's all for? It'd be interesting to see the comedy if there was a live mic on the Titanic. I bet there was some bangers getting dropped on that Titanic.
I bet there were. I guarantee. In dire circumstances, people are dropping some funny jokes to like get through it.
Yeah, there'd be, that's what they should have said. Like when old Jack. It should have realized bobbing around. He probably made some really inappropriate joke just before he slid off.
Yeah, so. I'm sure. Yeah, well, that's funny to think about. Yeah.
Could be worse. Chin chin.
Yeah. I'll see you later.
Cheerio.
That's funny, man. Yeah. There's it's interesting. Interesting you point that out. That's been a pretty common theme with the U.S. military too. I think it's a human being thing. Because I'm sure that there were probably some Roman centurions sitting down around before a campfire the day before a battle, and they're telling jokes to each other as they're getting ready to get mentally ready to go to battle the next day. I
mean, at every level, there's got to have been. Like I say, I was kind of serious, but there's some real bangers getting dropped on that Titanic moment. Yeah. It's all falling. It's just like, what are you going to do? And it's the same thing about, I fought in the Great Meme Wars of 2020
the Great Meme Wars. Jesus. It's so crazy hearing you of all people say that. It's like, that is the wild. That's not something I would have expected to hear come out of you.
Did you fight in the Great Meme Wars?
Did he fight in the Great Meme Wars?
But
Christian Craighead.
Yeah. But it's these things when like it's funny and people go, oh, that inappropriate or that's not, and it's like it's a joke. It is a joke.
Yeah.
And now it's this thing of these bird lines of like, if you tell a joke and it could be racist, sexist, just a joke, and people said that's, or just damn right inappropriate.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm not serious. I'm not like directing this at you to make you feel bad. It's just it's funny, and if it's funny, it's typically because it's mostly true, or people can relate to it. But now it becomes like almost like, well, I think it is could be a criminal offense, but like comedy, like. It's like subjective. It's like, I don't find that funny. Well, I do. I think it's hilarious or whatever. So it's
there's a lot of people like I know a lot of comedians. I hear Joe Rogan talking about it.
But it's like you talk about it, and it's like hangman's humor. People with the worst, cops especially, like cops, nurses, and paramedics. They've got the darkest humor going. Why? Because otherwise, humor is a way of getting something out that otherwise would remain locked in
and festering,
and to the casual listener, they're like, oh, when you hear what some cop or like a paramedic or a mortician, someone who works in a morgue, they've got some wicked humor because they've got to get through it. Otherwise, if they contain everything that they saw, it would just eat away at them. So it's interesting to the whole humor aspect of especially the military, like say military law enforcement.
Yeah.
Not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that as just like almost like a coping mechanism for to kind of like you said, get that stuff out because it festers inside your heart if you hold on to it and you don't like make light of the situation.
Yeah,
which is really what it is.
Yeah.
It's making light of a not light situation.
Yeah, and even when you see jokes about when a natural disaster or something happens, and there's jokes on one and too soon, and like. It's just a joke.
Yeah,
Did it make you like really? Did it make you smile? Did it make you laugh in the inside? And if the answer is yes, then it's not offensive.
Yeah,
I mean, it is again, offensive is a very strange term.
Yeah,
because if it's only offensive, everything could be offensive.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm offended because I am offended by everything.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the drivers in Texas offend me, and it's like, but I don't know. Where do you stop? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Well, because that's what happens is eventually that's unacceptable. You just made a joke about that. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, like, say, next thing, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And then next thing after that. So if you make one and I don't know.
Well, Joe Rogan, I think, read a book or made a joke or did a special on, I think the Sacred Clown Tour was what it was. And part of that was like the Heyoka tribe used to have I forget what the name of it was, but it was like a person in the tribe that was like essentially a comedian, and they would just make fun of everything. Mm-hmm. And the reason they did that, the reason they had that was because if you made fun of something and people got offended by it, you knew that it was bullshit. Because everything should be able to be made fun of because you should be able to make light of life because that helps make life easier for people to deal with, you know? And so like there's people are always like, well, there's certain things that are off limits and certain things that aren't. Well, comedy, like you said, is subjective and it helps people kind of like make it through certain situations. So that's why I think comedy is so valuable. And I think comedy's making a comeback now, especially in Austin area. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of good comedians that have moved out there from LA because they wanted to get away from Hollywood. They wanted to get away from California and all that.
Here's a good example of comedy that a lot of people were offended by. Something I did. So my dear auntie, she was on a deathbed, and my uncle called me and said, "This is in 2018. Your auntie, your aunt, auntie, whatever you say in America, but she's been admitted to hospital. She's not going to come out." So I jumped in the car, drove the 5.5 hours up north to see her, and I was really fortunate when I turned up in the hospital. Like she'd always had people around her bed, and for that moment there was no one there, so I could just have some real personal one-on-one chat with her. And she started crying when she saw me, and I had it was kind of emotional, and it was really sad to see her, but I was very fortunate to see her.
Were you close with your aunt?
I was very yes. It was one of those hindsights. I wish I'd spent more time in the years I was in the military, like being closer. Yeah. But I was close, and a remarkable woman. And then so she turns. I sit down and I'm like, "Oh, good to see you." And I went, "Okay." And in the book I call, I think Aunt Grace. In my book that you won't read, she's called Grace. It's not a real name, but I said, "Oh, Auntie Grace, how are you doing?" So I go, "I've got to ask you a question. When do you think you're going to die?" And so this was a Saturday afternoon. When do you think you're going to die? And she's like, "What?" I was, because I've got told you on your deathbed, and I've just rushed up here. And if you make it till Monday, I gotta admit I'll be quite disappointed because I've just wasted my weekend coming up to see you. And I was like,
Jesus Christ! How did she respond to that?
She punched me, and you bugger, you're like you little bugger, so it was like kind of obviously I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
And then but I said the other thing I said, what do you think's going to happen? So what do you mean? I goes, well, you're about to die. There's no denying this. You're dying. What do you think? He goes, whatever's on the other side, you're going to see it. Kind of exciting, isn't it? And she's like, what? And she goes, well, do you think there's a heaven? Do you think there's a hell? And and she was like one of the nicest human beings. Everyone's got their faults, so she had very few, and she was a brilliant human being. And she goes, do you think I'm going to go? Do you think there's a heaven or hell? Do you know? I hope I don't go to hell. And I went, Andy Grace, we all know the answer to that. Sadly, you're going to go to hell with all the other Protestants. So
with all the other Protestants.
I said, because you become a Catholic, you're going to go to hell with all the other Protestants. And I was like laughing.
Classic Catholic joke.
And then when she retold that story to friends and people who came around, they were like, to her husband, who again was very close to me, is Uncle Frank, as he's called in the book. They were like, oh, you should punch him. You should give him a slap for that. That's just so out of line. But as I said, it's like, what else was everyone talking about? This awkwardness about talking about the weather or what's going on in the news, or no one wanted to really hit it head on.
Yeah.
And
there's something special about that, doing it that way, though.
And we talked about all religions and stuff and things, and it's like, all joking aside, and if there is a heaven, she's there. There's no question about it. Yeah. And when I say if there is a heaven, everyone's going to be like, what the hell? I thought I am a practicing Catholic, and there is a heaven, and she's in it. That's the line I was in. If there is a heaven, I know I was going down that road, but yeah, she's in it. There is heaven and there is hell, but that was the point of just making light of a really dire situation. And then there was another uncle who was same thing, same kind of detail, and I joked when I got there. I said the same thing. I was like, hey, when do you think you're going to die? If you had to put money on it. And he's like, what? I goes, we all know you're going to die. And let's be honest, I'm kind of become the family Grim Reaper. The only time you'll get a visit from me is if you're the only time anyone gets a visit from me is if they're dying. Yeah. So like, if I come and knock on your door, it's kind of bad. There's a reason why
if I'm here, then it's kind of bad.
It's the only way I'm visiting is if you're, and sadly I'll never return to the UK for legal reasons, but it's like, that's what I just joked. I'm like, I made a joke on me. I'm like, I'm kind of like the family Grim Reaper now.
Yeah.
But it's just breaking that whole tension of like, let's not beat around the bush here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether, and that's it. It's like, we got to make light of it somehow.
Well, I think you probably got more experience with that because you've been around a lot more death than most of your family probably has.
Yeah.
And so because you have more experience around death and with death being like a part of your daily profession, you've got more experience with finding ways to make light of a very dark situation.
I think so. It's like you become numb to it in some point.
Well, and you find ways to live, to find peace, inner peace, and that might be one of those ways that you find that inner peace is by making light of it.
And maybe selfishly, and maybe people are looking at me going, he's wrong. Maybe selfishly, I was making those jokes to make me feel better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope not. And I'd like to my Andy Grace. She was like I said, she was laughing and going on with it. So, and one of the best things because I wasn't always a Catholic. I was a convert. And she was like, "Oh, you became Catholic?" I was like, "Yes." And I was wearing a crucifix with a miraculous medal. And I go, "Yeah, I wear this every day." And I said, "Well, do you want it?" And she was like, "Yeah." And she took it straight away and wore around her neck until she died. And it was just like that whole thing of, it's people can say what I know, what they want about religion, faith, but like I've seen too much of it to doubt it. I've seen too much evidence of God to ever doubt that he's not real.
Now, I'm not a Catholic. I would be considered a Protestant. I'm an Episcopal, and my mom is an Episcopal, but she's actually an Episcopal priest. And I know you can't be a priest. You can't be a woman who's a priest in the Catholic Church. Totally get that. That's just the way that the Catholic Church is. She went to seminary in a place called Virginia Theological Seminary in Virginia. She had a professor that was a former Catholic and decided to become a Protestant after 20 years or something. But while he was a Catholic, he became a licensed exorcist while he was there. And he told the class some stories in class, like saying, like, I'm telling you that I know that there's verifiable evidence that there's something out there that is evil, and there's stuff out there that's good. And the reason why he's like, the reason I know that is because I have seen people levitate off their beds. I've heard people speak in languages that they couldn't possibly have learned anywhere. And he's like, I've seen things that people have done that there's nothing that I can do to explain how that happened. So there's a reason that I believe that there is an existence of these things. That's just another supporting thing. But there's also a reason I don't mess with Ouija boards. I don't mess with any of this weird stuff, man. Like, because there's definitely something out there, you know, and I'm not going to play games with that stuff. Like, I see a lot of folks that do that kind of thing and like make YouTube videos about it or whatever. But I don't mess around with it because like there's evil out there for sure, and there's good out there for sure too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but just a little side note, just after you were bringing that up, there's too much evidence to support that there's an existence of these places, or even if you like are out there and you don't, maybe you're an agnostic or whatever, you know. There's too much stuff that's hard to explain without there being some sort of higher entity of understanding out there that maybe you don't have a comprehension of, or maybe you're just not able to comprehend, you know? That's just my personal opinion. I mean, I wouldn't force that on anybody. That you know, decide what you want, feel how you want. You're a sovereign, independent human being. But you had somehow, by happenstance, come into contact with, like, you know, Don Jr. and these guys, and the president and these folks and the family and everything, the first family. How did that come to pass? Like
the presidential encounter, how that came to happen was in 2019, November 2019. I was traveling to the US to give a presentation about my incident to an American military unit. Members of the Secret Service heard I was doing this, and they said, "Hey, would you be willing to come en route to North Carolina? Could you come to DC and come to our training academy and brief us on what happened? Because we know the hotel because we've been there before, and we'd love to hear what your experience was on it." So I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I landed in DC, went to the academy. A few days before that, when I was still living in Kenya, they said, if you've got can you bring a suit? Because we'd love to take you to the White House and just give you a tour around the White House. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I do the presentation to the Secret Service. I then get changed into a suit, and then we drive to the White House. En route to the White House, the Secret Service detail get a call and said, the Vice President has heard, Mike Pence has heard that you're en route. Someone just said to the Vice President, "Hey, the guy that did that thing in Kenya, he's coming to the White House with the Secret Service." And the Vice President said, "Well, I'd love to chat with him."
Yeah.
So we go to the White House, go to the West Wing, see the Vice President, have a bit of a chat with him, and then move on. All of this was under the radar, so I didn't tell because it was fast moving. So all it was this. Remember, this was in my world just a tour of the White House. So there's no reason to tell the chain of command about this. This is just a favor amongst friends. Hey, we're just going to the White House. They had no intentions of introducing me to anyone. They were just hanging out just out of interest.
Yeah.
This is some areas where the public can't go. So it wasn't me completely blowing everything out of the water. It was just like, there's no need to tell chain of command. I might have even told them anyway. I can't remember. Maybe I did.
Yeah.
But then, so I haven't got my phone, so I can't update people saying I've been requested to see the Vice President. So I see him. We then go on a tour into the Eisenhower building and such, and the Vice President then speaks to the National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, who, hey, I've just met that guy, and Robert O'Brien's like, I need to speak to him. So the Secret Service then get a call from the NSA, and I go and see him, and he's initially with the counter-terrorist advisor, Kash Patel, then and me, and all super great. I end up chatting with the Robert O'Brien for a long time. I'd say 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're talking about just policy, Africa, Middle East, things like that. I'm talking, really having a good chat. Then he turns around and says, "Oh, have you spoke to POTUS yet?" And I'm like, oh, no. He goes, well, he's in the Oval Office. I know he'd love to speak to you. Come on, let's go. So
let's go. You're like, wait, you mean I'm going to go talk to the president right now? Like,
and then
this wasn't part of my
as
plan.
I walk out of the office, the Secret Service guys are waiting for me, and they're like, "Hey, no, we need to go this way." And Robert O'Brien's like, "No, he's going with me. We're going to see POTUS." And you can see the look on their faces, like, "Oh," it's like, because I'm the same like vein as me. It's like, "Hey, we're just showing this guy around, nothing to report in. We're going to do it." Yeah. Now it's getting bigger.
Yeah, it's gotten elevated. Yeah.
So I follow Ambassador O'Brien, who is such a really good guy, really again super. Clued up. It wasn't like talking to an official. It was like talking to an SME when I was talking about policy and things. So
yeah,
we go into this room, and he goes, "Oh, just wait around here." It turns out the room's the Oval Office.
Turns out the room is the actual Oval Office.
and yours truly here doesn't know it's the Oval Office.
You didn't know it was the Oval Office?
Because part of the Oval Office is like a private study, which is where the president was inside.
Oh, okay.
And so he goes in, the door's slightly ajar, and hear people talking and stuff. And I'm just like stood there by myself in this office, and it looks big. It looks bigger in the movies.
Okay.
And then the door's like, "Oh, come on in." President Trump's there, as is the Vice President Mike Pence, Robert O'Brien, Kash Patel, and two other advisors, and the White House photographer. And President Trump comes straight up to me, puts his hand out, and the first thing President Trump says to me is, "Thank you for saving American lives." Now, I spoke about this to about 120,000 people for a rally for President Trump, New Jersey, in Wildwood, New Jersey, because everyone knows I'm connected and a big Trump supporter. And this is what I want people. If people are watching this and you're like on the fence, or you think, "Oh, Trump's this," or just remember this, and I've got to say this as like candidly as I can, is to try and get the message across. Is I am a nobody. I'm a nobody. Well, what do I mean by that? So at that point in my life, yeah, I was SAS, senior SAS soldier, but I wasn't an officer. I didn't come from wealth or power. I was just an operator. And there was no media there. The British government didn't know I was there.
That's the crazy part.
So no one, and what all this means is that there was absolutely nothing in it for President Trump, the most powerful man on the planet. Nothing in it for him. Yeah, he took time out of his day and his hyper busy schedule to thank me for saving American lives. I think you'd have to be kept really narrow-minded to think that that's not the character of a good man and a good individual. I think it's hard to argue against. There was absolutely nothing in it for him. He didn't know where I was going to be, what I was going to turn to, or whatever. I was just a soldier in the SES. Like I say, no connections, no money, no nothing, and no media there. No one was going to see this or her. In theory, no. But he took the time out. Thanks for saving American lives. And then we went on to talk about some policies, decisions he made, other things. Really engaging, genuine guy. Which is why I support him any way I can. So I think that says a lot about his character. You know, no one from the British government ever shook my hand and said thanks for what you did or getting stuck in. But like I say, I think that just shows you the character of the individual.
There's definitely a big cultural difference between the UK government and the American government. There's a big cultural difference.
I think I disagree. There's a cultural difference between President Trump and the UK government, and the US government. President Trump is President Trump.
Yeah.
He's not. That's why they drain the swamp. He's not the establishment. He's not. That's the difference. It's not the US government. It's the Trump factor.
Okay. So it's the individual.
Yeah. The individual. Everything he brings. That's what's making the difference. Because he brings his qualities, his leadership qualities, his style, You know, what people like it or don't like it, it doesn't matter. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know, he's a man who gets things done. If things don't make sense, it's just what someone says, it's just because we've always done it that way. Why? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
This makes more sense.
There's been a lot of that.
That's what he's doing. That's what other people he's appointed into positions, that's their mentality of, it doesn't matter if it's always been that way. If it doesn't make sense, then we're not going to do it. We need to do it the real way, to make money, to make sense, to make power, eye on the prize.
Yeah.
Not this.
Yeah.
Not these people who are deeply enrooted in the establishment or the diplomatic corps, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They and that's why they hate him. That's why, you know, people, the media, everyone wanted to get him out, because he's not cut from the same cloth as all these other people.
He's an outsider. Yeah. He's not part of the quote unquote deep state that people like to refer to, which I don't even know what that necessarily means, but I think he's definitely an outsider to Washington for sure.
But it's even things like when they're talking about Pete Hegseth, and they're saying he's not qualified for the job.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what does that mean? I mean, hell, he's an army officer.
He was a captain in the army, Army National Guard.
Yeah, and it's like, he's not qualified. So what does qualify him? Well, does he have to be an ex-general?
Yeah.
If that, so at what point did you become qualified? At what point? Yeah. Where's the threshold of being qualified and unqualified?
Where's the needle? Yeah.
Where is what if you've got if someone's a absolute useless fat piece of shit general, they're more qualified. Some DEI general, someone, they're more qualified. Why? Because it fits the narrative. Because that, or is it even someone who was never an officer, never in the army, never in the military? But they they studied the right subject in a good university, and they've worked in politics. They're more qualified. Doesn't make much sense to me. It will go back down. We've circled all the way back round to right person for the right job. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't know. See, I don't know how.
Because you have advisors, it's not a one-man band, so it doesn't. It's the war secretary or secretary for war is like, he's got advisors. So arguably, you'll say his military experience or lack of rank doesn't really matter, because he can ask other generals for assistance and advice when possible. I mean, that's just, again, my opinion. Yeah.
Well, I think that, like, at the end of the day, one of the things that you brought up is that he's got advisors. I think every major position in government, it's not about, I mean, the individual definitely has an impact on how the ship is steered, but as far as like getting the job accomplished, it's, you're only going to be as good as your team, whatever your team is. The same thing could be said about down to the squad level in the infantry or whatever job you're is. Like, you could have the best squad leader in the world, but if all of the people supporting that squad leader, his team is not good, the squad's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very nuanced, complicated thing, and it has to do with like the whole team and like what the team is doing together to succeed in whatever mission they've got.
I do like the direction which the U.S. military is heading under Pete Hegseth. I think it's like some of the things I'm like, that's what a lot of people have been thinking. Again, I'm not fully read up on everything, but I do like that stance, and I do like this. Even if it's, you could say, the image role of like, you're a representative of the military. You look at the British military. Let's be honest. If you walk around over the camps in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's. I mean, it's just the whole. I can't speak badly enough about the British military. It's the army of a defeated nation, to be fair. But I think that was General Petraeus, either that or Stanley McChrystal
said that.
Petraeus said that the army was driving, allegedly, one of those two generals either driving around either Iraq or Afghanistan. He was looking at the British soldiers walking by and went, "That's the army of a defeated nation." So
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think
I should get some hate for that.
No, it's all good. I think I mean, you're again. That's part of having a First Amendment right. Being a citizen of the United States, you can speak how you want. You can talk about whatever you want here. You have the right to express yourself. And then other people have the right to disagree if they want to disagree or whatever, and they can say whatever they want. But I think that your experiences with the public eye have been very unique. One of the things I think is very inspiring is the fact that you've accomplished so much unbelievable crap, and you've done so much shit with your life, and you've done unbelievably brave, courageous things, and you've done all these unreal things that most human beings wouldn't be like physically, spiritually, or mentally capable of doing, like saving other people's lives, or committing to doing something at complete disregard for their own lives. That's a thing that most human beings don't have inside of them. It's very rare. And for a guy that's done all these things to say, I'm a nobody, I'm just a random average guy. It's like when you talk about, it's always better to downplay your actions than to try to embellish them. The humility aspect to that is remarkable to me. And also something that I have immense respect for. Because for somebody to be so well accomplished and have done all these things to still be like, I haven't done anything. I'm just a random person. I'm not like a famous, well-known person. I don't have all these crazy connections. Like, I'm just, a soldier. Like, I think humility is one of those, especially for people in the public eye, is a very difficult thing for people to maintain. Yeah. Because it's easy to slip out of that when you start getting lots of attention from all these people. But because you came from humble beginnings, you said you grew up poor, and you grew up like in a relatively humble beginning, and you went through a lot of hardship.
I think the big thing for me is got imposter syndrome. I still don't feel worthy of everything that I've done.
I don't feel worthy to be talking to you.
I'm like, I've got, I'm do this, and this wouldn't be good, and I'm always trying to be better, and like, as if I'm like a fraud from getting in the SAS or something, or I never really achieved all that. I don't know how I did. I still don't know how I did, but I don't know how I did, but here I am.
That's how I feel. I feel that way sitting here in a room with you. Because I'm like, what the f did I do to get here talking with you? You've done unbelievable stuff. I don't feel like my career has been all that remarkable. I think it's been very average at best. I consider myself a very average person. But I can relate to that imposter syndrome thing. Now, you've done a lot more than I've done. So like for you to have imposter syndrome, I'm like, Jesus Christ, we all have imposter syndrome, But
I think the only people who don't are the real shitbags. The ones are there who'll be going, I'm a badass, and I did similar to what he did, and I was that, and it's like, and you regurgitating some well-told story that isn't true. Yeah. I mean, we all got. I think my story follows a well-trodden story, but or well-trodden path. Sorry, but it's like they're the people who haven't got imposter syndrome because they're frauds. I think the true heroes, like super high achievers. I'm not saying I am, but the ones who do like people like even Olympic medalists or whatever, and the highest, the best, they've probably got imposter syndrome because it's the biggest driver of trying to chase the thing that's never coming. Yeah. It's chasing the approval that you're never going to get, and that approval is from yourself. So you're always chasing it.
Yeah, we are our own worst enemies and our own harshest critics. Mm-hmm. I am my own harshest critic on a regular basis.
Every day when I say Hail Marys all day, but I pray in the morning, I pray at night, and one of the things, this is kind of what I've said, is I always say, please protect me from all evil, and protect me from myself. I think it's like, because they're the two strongest enemies I have, evil and myself. The big thing I like saying, please protect me from myself. Because that's like kind of like I say, it's your biggest enemy.
Yeah, sometimes the most dangerous place for you to spend too much time is between your own ears.
Yeah,
especially if you got too much time on your hands, or you're sitting around thinking all the time, or you spend too much time, thinking about things that you have regrets about, or thinking about things you wish you had done better, or things like that. I always feel like I fall short of what I'm aiming to get to. And I'm sure like extremely high performers like yourself probably hold yourself to an unachievable standard that you're constantly trying to strive for, but can't ever quite get there.
Someone asked me a few months back about, how do I be? I just want to be better. Yeah. And then they used me as standard, which I thought was kind of odd. But what do I do? And this is what it kind of changed or evolved over the last few months. But my view to everyone was, okay, when you're in a team or squad or platoon, you have yourself an out of body experience. So you're in that crowd. Say you've got a 12-man squad. You take yourself out and you look, and whatever the task is, you say, right, I've got to write a report.
Yeah.
Or I've got to run into a building and take on terrorists. Or I've got to do, I don't know, anything. Who in that squad am I choosing? Like if I'm now like an out of body commander.
Yeah.
Who am I? And if the answer isn't you, then what you need to do is start training and to make you so the gold standard is you are always the choice from yourself. You are the person you hold of the highest accord in your group. You've got to be realistic though.
Yeah.
Because some people got natural talent and are good. So you can't train yourself going, I'm going to be the best. There's some people you just can't compete with. But even by addressing it, you are going to get better. So you might not be the first choice. You might not be the second choice, but you'll be higher up the pecking order in your own standard that you set. And I think it's a good model to follow, saying, I'm just bettering myself, saying, who would I choose out of all these people? Oh, yeah, I always ask him. Yeah. Why? Why don't I make myself to be as good as him? And then from a competitive standpoint as well, if you are the first choice, then you can look at it a more sinister way, going, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that I am always on top, that I am always the choice, to make him not keep him further away? And I think it's a good model to follow.
Yeah, I think trying to be better than you were yesterday is always a good model for sure.
Even if it's the other one, and I apologize if people might think this is heresy, but the other thing that I said was when I was working on that model is if you think, right, who is the best person on there, you then look at the best person, whether it's you or someone else, and then you put Jesus on the team, and that is the standard you should always try to. Jesus would be the best door kicker, is the best door kicker. Jesus is the best report writer. Jesus is the first at everything.
Yeah.
So that's the standard you should always achieve.
Yeah, aspire to be like.
It's the impossible standard. It's like, okay, yeah, John Smith, he's pretty good at close range shooting with a carbine. Right, I'm going to work to him. Once you reach that level, who's the best person after him? Jesus. You can't beat him at carbine shooting because he's the best at everything.
I didn't think I would ever expect to hear Christian Craighead saying you can't beat Jesus at carbine shooting. I think that's great though. Yeah. I think it's a good analogy. Analogy. It's like aspire to be something that's unattainable, and then you will always continue to try to become better.
Yeah, that's a more eloquent way of putting it instead of talking about tactical Jesus.
No, it's okay. So. I am not the smartest guy. And that's one of the things I try to do is I try to relay information to people in a way that's easily understood because life is too complicated. I try to keep my life very simple. And so I like to break things down.
Well, that's why I use the Jesus thing about it's the unachievable.
Yeah.
It's like the best, who's the best person you can be.
Yeah.
And that's all aspects. And I mean, it's a very poor example he uses is like CQB in shooting, but it could be for anything. It's like he is what we should all aspire to be.
I think a lot of very high performers hold themselves to these unachievable standards, and they continue to try to become better in whatever their craft happens to be, whether it's like bow hunting or whether they're just, long gun shooters or if they're competition shooters or if they're wrestlers or boxers or UFC fighters or actors or musicians or any of that stuff or whatever. You could apply that to any profession, any human profession on earth, and you could apply that to it. But either way, I think
the big risk is just getting comfortable where you are,
which is very easy to do as a human being.
Yeah, especially if you make it into a high achieving organization.
Yeah.
Whether it be like being a professor in a certain university or college
that's tenured,
and then you're like, okay, I don't need to progress now.
Yeah.
Getting into a tier 1 unit, I've made it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to plod along. Or whether it be getting our sports team is a good one where people might get picked from college, go into a team, and then it doesn't last very long because personally, either one, they were, out of their depth, but I suspect a lot of the time was when the people become too famous, too soon, too cocky.
Yeah.
Forget that there's work to be done.
Yeah, I think that nothing I've ever earned in this life came easily for me. It all came from sacrificing a lot of things and working very hard for it.
Which takes us back down to we shouldn't change the immigration policies into the United States for that reason. Make it more efficient, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't give anyone any free passes.
I think
no matter where they come from.
I think the delay should not be with the government. The delay should come from the individual. It's like, hey, this will work as fast as you're willing to do it, but there needs to be an efficient system for it. I agree, because if people are able to pass the tests and pay the fees.
It's like what I was saying with what I got told, and what did happen is this was a while back on the green card stuff. They said, from this point, it could take up. I said, what's the timeline on this? And it said it could be 6 weeks, or it could be like 8 months. It all depends on where it lands on wherever's desk. So that's the stuff that
that's the problem.
That's how some things take a long time. That's why I was saying, don't change the process, don't change the rules, but do change the efficiency of it. So it goes through, and if it's all done, all squared away, rather than this lottery, or not a literal lottery, but it could take 6 weeks, but it could take 8 months as well.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel like you're rolling dice.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be like you're gambling. Yeah. It's like, this is the process. This is roughly how long it takes. These are the deadlines of when these things are due by. If you ran it like a business, and rather than like a bureaucracy, which is the problem with government, oftentimes is bureaucracy.
And especially now with everything that's going on. And again, it's easier said than done. We're all saying make it efficient, but then we have everything that's going on with Homeland Security. There's only so much manpower we've got, and we've got to prioritize tasks. So it may be an impossible task.
Yeah.
But it's like, because there's only so many hands and so many eyes we've got to do all the other work. But that would be a good way of saying, look, it's possible, it's efficient. You've just got to be able to be a benefit to the United States.
Yeah.
Demonstrate that you're a benefit to this country. Yeah. And then it's yours. It's yours for the taking.
And also, like, we need to know that you're like, hey, if you're moving here, like, you're swearing allegiance to this country. And
and that's the whole thing. This whole thing of like, I think, again, we talked about earlier about if you've got different parents from different countries and things like that. But if you're coming here to live here from another country, no, you can't have a allegiance. That's why it's a pet peeve of mine of like, I have zero allegiance to the United Kingdom, zero.
Yeah. And
what I really do not like is when I see Brits in America, and most of the time they're like green card holders, or now they're still flying the Union Jack, or the one is, I'm like, and I joke with my friends and stuff when they say, he's a Brit, and I say, you better be careful, because I'm on the final stretch of being an American citizen, and when I am full-fledged American citizen, you call me British, there's going to be words.
I appreciate. You ever seen that movie, The Patriot?
Yes.
Oh, great film.
Yeah.
Great film, man. I like the way that they portrayed how it's like, there's people from all over the place that were living here at the time that were like fighting with the colonists, and they're like, nobody cared what country you're from. You're an American.
Yeah.
Then it didn't matter what country you came from. Hey, you're here fighting with the Americans now.
And that's what I get at, like, hopefully one day I'll get my, like I say, there's nowhere I can go from here, and then the American citizenship will come soon, and like when people say, no, I'm an American, pure, like that's it. I'm not a Brit. Oh, he's a Brit like you. I'm an American.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
you legally immigrated here. You did all the paperwork that everybody else has to do. You had the easy pass if you wanted it, and you took the same way that everybody else has taken. You're doing it the hard way, which you're like, yeah, of course, would I have liked to do less work for this? Sure, because it's like less of a pain in the ass for me. But you chose to do it the way that everybody does it, to show, look, if I can do this, and I'm putting through the work and doing all these things, like, it can be done. You can do it too, Because we had a conversation about that.
Yeah, no, it's like everything I do. I mean, there is one process that is that I haven't done that is kind of an accelerated way, but it's legal.
Yeah.
And it's like, so everything, that's the bottom line, is everything that I do to the end point is legal.
Yeah.
Is legal. It's the legal way. And that's what's important. That's what I've said to people in the past is, it doesn't matter who I know, whatever, everything that I do is the legal process.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. And even if there's a way to do things quicker, Then you say, oh, but he did that way. Yeah, but it's legal. That's the most important thing.
Yes, the legal
it
way.
It wasn't a leg up. It wasn't this. It was all official and legally done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's important, because like it's a good example to set, be like, look, if I can do this, like, so can you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I appreciate your passion for it. You have a lot of stuff going on this week, I would imagine, because you probably got a million people vying for your attention, as per usual. Because like when people find out you're in town, everybody's probably texting you like, "Oh, dude, I want to see you. Like, can you come by my booth? Can you come hang over here? Can you come do this? Come to the range? Come do this, that?" So like again, I'm appreciative of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. And again, I think that you're a good role model. I think you're a good example of leadership especially for young men. And we need that. We desperately need good male role models, because as you've seen, there's been like kind of a semi-war on masculine men for a little while, and that's like not really an opinion. That's a pretty factual thing that's been kind of happening. Well, whether people want to accept that as being fact or not, that's just been the case.
You can't even deny it. In all movies and things, it's not just masculinity. It's young white men who, sorry to offend anyone, but the majority of combat soldiers are young white working class men. It's just the way it is. I don't make the rules, it's just how it works out.
Yeah.
But a lot of movies and things are just,
speaking, it's been that case. Yeah,
it's especially from a UK perspective.
Yeah.
But it's like, but we villainize it. We kind of made them the enemy on all media. They're either incompetent or they're the bad guy. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's been a weird time. I don't know where that came from.
The problem with that is I personally don't think it doesn't elevate anyone else, but what it does do, it makes young white working class men feel worthless. That's the problem. It's not like elevating other people that's not what's happened. It's just making these young men feel worthless,
or feel like they should be guilty,
or
feel guilty, and also it's also radicalizing some of them, because they've been told that they're useless for such a long time.
And we see that potential problem, although some people might say it's a good thing in UK. Is, that was the void where young white men could go to progress in life would be the military. They've done a really good job of making people not want to join it anymore in the UK. So Islam takes that void, be part of something. So young white men in working class areas are migrating to like the mosque to find purpose in life, to get ahead on life, to do things.
Interesting.
Something always takes nothing.
Fills the void. The void doesn't stay empty forever.
Nothing's destroyed. It just changes shape and changes.
Well, that's like location. Mass. You can't destroy mass. It just changes form, changes shape. Yeah. At least here in America, I think that we are starting to come around again and realize like the value of having strong men in general. I think that just there's a reason why civilizations rose and fell. And it was because they had strong human beings there to protect the women and children, to defend the walls, to man the walls, you know what I mean? To do the hard work. I know people get all bent out of shape about gender roles. I don't really care about that. You do whatever you want. You're a free human being. You choose what you want. But throughout human civilization, history has shown that the civilizations that had strong men were the ones that lasted. They're the ones that were able to outlast their enemies, because if they eventually had to go to war with another nation, the thing that determined who won was how many strong men did these guys have and how many strong men did these guys have.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of getting over that thing, and it'll continue to get worked out and stuff like that. But regardless, like I said, I think you're a good role model, and we need more good role models and mentors and examples of leaders for young men. To be able to look up to, and just to have it as an example to aspire to be like, because maybe to some young men you might be that Jesus Christ figure that you're there talking about. It's like, this guy is this unobtainable position, but I want to be like that. I'm not trying to say you're Jesus Christ or or like compare that or anything, but you get what I'm saying. Like you're this this unobtainable goal of like what it means to like have reached the pinnacle of like being an honorable, brave, courageous, intelligent, quick-witted, smart man. And so guys will look at that and be like, I want to be more like that guy, rather than some of the other poor examples they might find on the internet when they're doom scrolling or whatever. Because there's plenty of bad examples, right? There's probably more bad examples than there are good examples, because it's easier to find that stuff. So it's important that, you know, we have that kind of stuff out there for people to aspire to be like and to set an example. You know, setting an example is oftentimes better than telling people how to do stuff, because like you just exist and you live your life, and people see that. You're not telling them to do anything. You're not telling them to do anything. They just see how you're carrying yourself, and they're like, that guy's got something I want. I'm not sure what it is, but I want to figure it out. But he's definitely got something that I want. You know, and I think it's good. I think it's overall a net positive for human civilization to have more good examples of strong men, and just good examples of honorable people.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's always going to be a need for that.
I think some of the things I said, it could easily be twisted to say, oh, he said this, or he said that, or he's a racist, or he's a misogynist, or whatever. But it's just reality. It's just like, you know, what we're saying is just like, it's happening.
Yeah. I'm
a big one of like, I used to work well with indigenous forces across the world, and everyone thought I had this secret code, or what's your secret? One of the commanding officers said to me, what's your secret working with all the indigenous? Because they all seem to love you everywhere you go. And I went, do you know what my secret is? I goes, I could treat everyone like a human being. That's my only secret. I treat everyone the same. That's why they like me. Nothing hard about that.
I try to do the same.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to live your life. And with that, I think we're going to wrap this up. Christian Craighead, brother,
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time, brother. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, man. It's great to have you here, man. This has been great.